Number 1 on Fruitarian. Vegan. Putting in some tags here. Vegan. All vegan. I don't know, guys. Beards. Tam Parker. Ah, excellent. Okay, cool. Check that out. Pakistani mangoes. Okay, welcome everyone so far, and you can add some questions. I'm going to talk about a few things, and we'll see how it all goes. Who will be selling? Maybe wait a little bit for people to join. I won't choose. So I'm really a new person is watching on you now. Got some trolls in already. Got a troll from. Need to get this little beard sorted out. Yeah, so good morning. Thanks for joining. If maybe some of you are watching on YouTube, I don't know yet. And today we're just going to have a Q&A and talk about really the raw vegan lifestyle. So for some of you that might not be of interest if you're friends of mine, but that's what we'll be talking about. And I don't know if it's broadcasting live on YouTube, but that's what I've selected. So hopefully it will be. And if anyone's got any questions, then you can put it in the thing below. I've got a number of topics I want to talk about anyway. And obviously I want to talk about the festival that's coming up, not next week, but the week after, the 27th to the 29th of July. And that's the festival I run, the UK Fruit Fest. And that is a raw vegan festival, fruit-based raw festival. And if you've not heard anything about it, you can ask me questions about it. But we're not just going to focus on that today. Really, any kind of questions you've got, or if anyone wants to join or chat or anything like that, it'd be pretty good to speak to some people as well today. There will be some speakers joining us later on. We can. So just answering a few questions. That's my friend Tam there. He's falling asleep watching it. Tam, have you got a question? Ask a good question. You should go, Tam. You should go to Strawberry and Spice today in 4th Street. It's not too far from where you live. These are honey mangoes. I like to cut them up into. This is a meal here. So something I want to speak about is I was speaking last night to a guy called Jonas, and Jonas is a raw vegan guy in a lot of forums online, and what I found, I was trying to talk to him about how the things that I get concerned about when it comes to a raw vegan lifestyle, things that things that I get in terms of the, not in terms of the actual diet or anything, but the people. And what uh, the things that worry me are, for example, people with eating disorders being coming into the community and being part of the raw vegan community and bringing in their habits, their bad habits, like their eating disorder habits and stuff. Whether that's eating too little or eating too much, it's kind of the same thing, you know. It's all kind of mental, I guess, mental problems related to food, and that's kind of that concerns me because then a lot of people like that spread a lot of misinformation, and that can be a big problem because they're telling everyone that they've got problems that aren't real. They're telling people that they're doing a diet that they're not really following. Uh, they're telling people they're getting problems that they don't actually have, and they're blaming those problems on the diet that they're not even following. It's really hard to navigate to find the truth within this community, and that's why it's so important to actually meet people and find out what they're doing, and find people that are kind of walking their talk more. And that's who I try and associate with and who I try and get around with and learn from. Because when someone says something that doesn't add up, there's usually something else there. And an example for me, an example for me, uh, for example, recently is chatting to people, and one day they tell you what that they always eat a certain thing, or they eat something every week, and then the next time you speak to them and you speak to them more, they tell you that they never eat that, and then you maybe speak to them one day and they're totally vegan, and then another day they're telling you they're eating animal products, and it's just really confusing. And that kind of that concerns me about this lifestyle. So you need to be cautious about who you take advice from. When you find people that have done it long term, then that's good, but you still don't really know what they've done long term. When you find people that have taught people who have done it long term, who have taught others that have taught others, then that would suggest that there's something working there. So if you look at some of the long-term teachers, there's people online that a lot of people want to follow because they've got a appeal, charisma, and everything. But who are they really, and who have they who have they influenced, and who have they followed, and who's followed them? So I would be cautious. It's something I would say be cautious about when you're in online forums and when you're uh, getting advice from people and looking at things. Just be cautious about these things. Who is that person? What are they actually? The background. A lot of people don't know the backstory to certain people. And when you've been around the raw vegan community for a number of years, you start to kind of know who a lot of the people in it are, and you start to learn some of their backstory, their history, everything else. So I would be cautious, and that's why I think events are important. But it's why I think that getting around the right people is important, and that's what we try and do at the festivals. And I know at some of the other events as well, but they're good for that as well. Tam's asking me a question. He says, I took Ronnie for a game of pool once and he showed up with 2 dozen large oranges. We nearly stopped being friends when they said there was his dinner. That's true. So Chris Kendall might be joining us in a little bit. He's just messaged me there. So if anyone's got any questions or anything, please feel free to play a part, to join, to be part of this. What have we got here? We've got people still joining. Well, I'm eating these mangoes. And this is another thing I want to talk about, is that a bunch of people, when you talk about eating mangoes that are imported or whatever, people start saying these have been cooked, these have been heat treated, and a lot of fruit, when it goes across borders and gets imported or whatever, it goes through a heat treating process. And I don't know how much that affects the fruit, but it's obviously, I don't think it's to improve the fruit in any way. I don't think it's to try and process the fruit in any way. I think it is just it's very simply to try and kill off some of the bacteria or whatever else, not bacteria, but like grubs and things that sometimes exist in these things. Okay, I can see people are watching. Let me know, maybe leave a comment in the chat box so I can see who's here or what's happening. I've never really used this before, so I'm just learning. But we're speaking about the raw vegan diet and lifestyle today, the fruitarian diet, vegan diet, health in general, and all sorts of other things in relation to that. Is it disgusting that I'm eating? Do you want me to stop eating? So misinformation concerns me because there's people teaching things, um, and it turns out that person isn't even following what they're teaching, or they're making comments. And there's also a kind of perfectionism that relates to what I was talking about with the mangoes, as if a person's gonna not eat mangoes because they're raw and they don't want to eat heat treated mangoes because they've been cooked, in their opinion, and they've not really been cooked. They've been taken quite an unripe state, put in warmish water, and then they ripen up after that. So if they'd been damaged to that extent, they wouldn't really ripen up after being put in the water. Um, you know that's not how it works. But um, Tim's watching. Tim McElveen. Hi Tim. Hi to Sophie. Obviously Tam. I don't know if you're still here, Tam, or not. Trolling. But it's weird that people are going on about the mangoes. Hi Sophie. It's weird that people go on about the mangoes being cooked and stuff like that. And I don't know, like if you're going to take it to that far, then eventually what you're going to do is not eat anything. I mean, you need to have some kind of sense when you're doing this, that you're not going to just throw everything out. You know, you need to be eating something. At the end of the day, you can't just find. We can all find an argument for why we shouldn't eat certain things, but you've got to choose something to eat. So I'm going to choose heat treated mangoes over all the other junk food that people are eating, you know, and I'm not going to worry about the heat treated mangoes and think, well, this would be better if I just picked it off the tree. I honestly don't know if they would be better. I don't know if they would taste better. They taste exceptional, so I don't know if there's any if they could taste any better or feel any better. Um, and I just think people need to be a bit more realistic. And people, the other thing is that people always say things like, well, if I lived in a certain place, um, I would be raw vegan, and if I lived in the tropics, and the tropics has the best fruit, and there's only good fruit in the tropics, and this is all nonsense, you know. There's great fruit everywhere. I mean, I got these this morning, and these mangoes are just as good as anything in Thailand, if not better, from the stuff that I experienced in Thailand. Bananas are not vegan because they're sprayed with shrimp. Yeah, I mean, I would say that a lot of farming practices. I mean, a lot of fruit that gets grown, or in some places they use wasps. Like, and I don't mean they get pollinated by wasps, but they buy wasps, they buy bees in boxes, live bees and wasps, and bring them in to pollinate there. So you could say that that's not vegan. Um, there was a thing on the forum one time about figs not being vegan and all this kind of stuff. So, but where are you going to draw the line with all that? If you keep on investigating every food, then you're going to end up just you can end up finding a reason to not eat anything. But I'm pretty sure that it's not any better when it comes to other vegan foods. I don't think fruit, for some reason, fruit's always the villain. You know, fruit's always like, oh, fruit gets imported from other countries, as if no other food gets imported from other countries, which is just silly. You know, all the how much fruits, all loads of food, chocolate, tea, none of this is growing in the UK or it's growing in Northern Europe or Northern America, or whatever. So coffee and all this, people have all this stuff, and so I'm always sticking up for fruit because people are always finding reasons to not eat fruit, and they're finding reasons to eat as little fruit as possible. And it just doesn't. It makes no sense to me at all. Um, and people will say there's no good fruit here, and then I'll go and like show them all the good fruit, and they say, and I just don't know why they say stuff like that. If anyone's got any questions for me, please feel free to, or if anyone wants to join or be part of this discussion. Yeah, it's a good question, Sophie. The sugar question. I'm no chemist or biochemist or any of this stuff. I can't go into these things at a super scientific level when it comes to sugar. Um, I certainly think the refined sugar is not a health food and something that you should avoid. And it's something you should avoid because not only is it not good for you and it's addictive, um, it reduces your enjoyment of eating fruit. And a lot of the people that have went towards eating all this refined sugar and adding it to their smoothies, they don't enjoy fruit anymore. They don't enjoy the sweetness of fruit, and they start to say there's no good fruit around, none of the fruit's sweet enough. And it's no coincidence that the fruit isn't sweet enough because they're adding sugar, bags of sugar to smoothies or adding sugar to like rice and stuff like that. And then they're saying, well, the fruit isn't sweet enough. Well, the fruit's not going to taste sweet enough if you add concentrated sugar crystals onto your food all the time. So you need to, yeah, use dates as a sweetener. That's a fruit sweetener. But if we go into the sugar question a bit more, um, so people are saying, oh, sugar isn't fruit bad because of all the sugar. Well, fruit is a whole food. So if people have heard that sugar is bad, then why are they saying, well, fruit has sugar in it? You know, fruit has. If you ate calcium and your mouth would explode, you know, or is it calcium or yeah, sodium or certain elements, you know, if you put them in your mouth, they would explode on reaction to the the water in your mouth. But that's not what you're eating when you're eating a whole food. You're eating uh, something that's very much more complex than that. It's not just individual ingredients. So what comes along with the sugar in fruit is the fiber, is the antioxidants, and many other things that come together like a symphony. So you need to think of your nutrition and your health as like a symphony of various things coming together. And because we've isolated sugar out of things, so we just eat the sugar crystals, um, that's a problem. But when it comes to actually sugar, how bad is even white sugar? People would generally say it leads to people putting on weight, and that it leads to people having teeth problems and diabetes. And these are things that are labelled towards white sugar. Well, when it comes to diabetes, we know that type 1 diabetes is not related to eating sugar, though not caused by eating sugar. Otherwise, we'd just not eat sugar, and no one would get type 1 diabetes. So that's not caused by sugar. Type 2 diabetes, some people think that's caused by sugar. And a lot of people will not believe you when you tell them any different, that type 2 diabetes is not caused by eating sugar. And from what I know or have seen or whatever, the problems with type 2 diabetes, the same as heart disease, the same as your risk for getting a stroke and many other things, is to do with the fat in the diet rather than the sugar in the diet. Your body's pretty efficient at dealing with the sugar, using the sugar. Of course, it's often said that all of our cells in the body are fueled by sugar. Our bloodstream has sugar in it all the time. Blood sugar, you need that or else you'll die. Your brain is fueled by glucose. So we need. It makes sense that our body would go towards finding the best form of sugar, or the simplest form, or the easiest, quickest form. And in nature, fast food is fruit. And you could say, and it's probably there's a good case to say, that part of our intelligence and everything else is because we were frugivores, we're fruit eaters. We had access to, and we ate huge quantities of sugar-rich fruits in the tropics, and that really had an effect on how our brain developed and everything else. And the animals, the monkeys that are fruit eaters and frugivores, they are more intelligent than the animals that eat leaves and vegetables and things like that. If you compare different types of monkeys and apes, the fruitarian apes are more advanced and intelligent. So I'm just going to stay on for quite a few hours, guys. If anyone wants to answer questions, ask questions, or answer questions, or debate, or anything. This is a little towel I'm going to use. You can be part of this. And if you've got any questions about anything related to the Fruit Festival or anything else, you can join me and be part of it. I'm just occasionally going to some other pages just to try and promote it a little bit. There's a vegan camp out today in 11 Days to the Fruit Festival. Absolutely. There's a vegan camp today. I don't know if anyone's gone to that. I know my friend Simon's there. Michael, the vegan activist, is going to be there in the Peak District. The other thing that annoys me is that people start to say they've got like parasites, and this whole lifestyle attracts all these people that have some belief that they need to be like really clean, and they need to clean out, and they need to detox, and they need to be constantly detoxing and getting rid of stuff, and taking herbs to help them detox more, and all that. And that concerns me a lot, because a lot of that is, um, I don't know, it's just not true, I suppose. Uh, of course, we all have parasites in us. We have things that live in us and everything, but what they're believing is they've got worms living in them. And if you've got worms living in you, I'm pretty sure you can go to the doctor and say, I think I've got worms, and the doctor will check you out. And if you've got worms, they'll give you some uh, medicine that'll pretty quickly flush out the worms. You know, we know how to deal with these things. Um, you don't need to be taking herbs and all this. And then people start looking into their own, going to the toilet, looking into, when they go to the toilet, start looking at it and saying, "Oh, that's worms," and it's not. You know, it's just fibers, or it's bits of food, or it's whatever. But they think there's these worms living in them. And there's a number of people that post online quite a lot, and post a lot in raw vegan forums and communities and stuff, and they're posting pictures of themselves, and they're saying, "Oh, I'm nearly getting these parasites out now," and you're just like, what planet are you? What planet are you on? On it, like, if you think you have worms, you need to just go to the doctor, and they'll be able to pretty quickly assess that. So that really concerns me. Just and then yeah, and people looking for a kind of perfectionism. But yeah, the funny thing about food, more than anything, I think more than almost anything, but probably not as much as maybe romance or something, or certain areas, is that people lie about food a lot. They lie about what they eat. They lie about how much they eat, how much they spend on it, uh, whether they're vegan or not. They lie about all these things, you know, and it's kind of frustrating to try and uh, to figure out what people are really doing and find out the truth. And there's plenty of people online that have been doing raw vegan diets, and then all of a sudden they're not doing a raw vegan diet, and like there's no transition there at all. It's like one day raw vegan, 100%, next day all of a sudden it's all this junk food, and you're like, what? How come if I was to do that, go from raw vegan to vegan like restaurant food, I would be like, oh man, you know, you just feel so heavy after it. Even raw vegan restaurant food can just be so heavy, because a lot of it's kind of oily and fatty. It can be just so, uh, yeah, so heavy, I guess is the right word. And and it's just funny to me that people say, yeah, I was raw vegan for a year or 2 years, and now I'm just going to go back to cooked food, and there's no change. And that's just like, how is there no change? Like, how is there no change? And you realise they weren't really doing what they were saying they were doing, and it's weird. Um, I remember a guy who years ago had a YouTube channel that was pretty big at the time and growing, and going well, and he was getting a lot of support in the community, and he was basically, yeah, even me, Tim, you probably gotta watch out what I'm saying. But this, a friend of mine, yeah, a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and he had a great story. He'd lost a lot of weight, went raw vegan, um, and he was making money online and stuff like that, and doing okay doing that. Coaching people, helping people, had ebooks and things like that, like a lot of people do. And yeah, Tim, keep on asking the questions, and I'll come back to you to it. So, uh, and then I went over to Thailand and met him in real life for the first time. and I'd been told by people, oh, he's back to eating cooked food again, so that's kind of what I was expecting or whatever. And yeah, he had put on a lot of weight. Um, he didn't look good. He just seemed to never have any energy. He was eating a ton of cooked food and salt and a lot of junk, vegan, all 100% vegan, and barely any fruit. It was like he went from this fruit-based 80-10-10 diet, and now he was barely eating any fruit. But when he talked about it online, he would say like, "Oh, I eat fruit throughout the day, and I have a little bit of cooked food at night." And the reality was he was just binging on cooked food throughout the day, you know, and binging on cooked food throughout the day and eating little bits of fruit. And the most of the fruit he was eating was like dried bananas and stuff like that, and stuff covered in sugar. And it was a complete role reversal. And he was getting pretty bad like body odor, and he was just lying about all the time, and just didn't seem to have the energy. And before that, a year before when I'd met him, I'd actually met him in real life before. I don't know why I said that was the first time I met him. I'd met him in real life before, but never really got to know him. And he looked phenomenal. You know, he looked really great, and he just seemed to have lost something. But I think part of that was to do with stress in his life. A thing, you know, a girlfriend thing, someone, uh, a breakup that went pretty bad, all that kind of stuff. And he went back to eating cooked food again. And yeah, but I was surprised at the difference between what he was projecting online and what he was actually doing. And he eventually ended up just stopping doing YouTube completely and just kind of disappeared. And I hope he's okay, but I've no idea whatever like happened to him. He's hard to get in touch with now. But there was a big difference there, and he would say, you know, I'm eating cooked food now and I feel great, and nothing's changed and I feel good, and it just didn't match up, you know, it didn't match up to my reality of it. So to my reality of what I was seeing and what the other guys that were staying with him were talking about. Um, so yeah, you do have to realize that sometimes when people are saying I went from raw to cooked and it's just the same, or it's better or whatever, often the reality isn't really the case, and people's own ego and stuff stops them from maybe accepting the truth of it. I don't know why, but yeah, that's that. But listen, I'm not. I just think people need to be honest, you know, and say actually there is a difference. Actually, I'm choosing to eat cooked food. Um, I feel a difference, and just I don't know, be honest about it a little bit. Tim's saying you have to be careful who you listen to on raw vegan forums, especially YouTubers, and that's correct. And Tim says, I followed a YouTuber recently who was raving about the benefits of a raw vegan diet. He stopped being raw vegan and posted an anti-raw vegan video a few days after raving about raw vegan. And that's exactly what we see. But I do want to say to everyone out there, if you've gone to a raw um, if you've gone to like a vegan diet or a plant-based diet, and you're coming from a total junk food background with all the stuff that entails, alcohol, cigarettes, everything else, then I get it that you're not going to go to a 100% raw food diet overnight. I totally understand that. Uh, Personally, for me, I've made a lot of diet changes over a long period of time, and eventually went vegan, and eventually cut out other things, and then went raw vegan. So it was a longer term process for me. So that's why I don't go back to binging on certain things, because I have not eaten those for 5 years or 6 years or 10 years or whatever, because I cut those things out years ago. Like I cut out sugar, I don't know, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. I cut out eating sugar. So when people started adding sugar to the smoothies, it was like, why would you do that? You know, I hadn't eaten sugar in so long that it was just, what was the point? Chris is trying to jump on, but I'm not sure what's happening. Oh, here's Chris. So I'm inviting Chris to join us now, and hopefully.
There we go.
Hey, Chris.
Holy cow, this is new technology to me, man. I don't know what the heck's going on even. How's it going?
Yeah, good. You're horizontal right now, but that's fine.
Is it better this way?
What's that?
Is this better?
Yeah, I mean that's fine. I think I'll sometimes the video freezes a bit, so
I hope that I have a good enough connection here to do this. I'll see if the other side helps.
Mm-hmm. So Chris, you're at a Swedish raw vegan festival today.
Hanging out?
Mango mukbang. Can you hear me, Chris?
Might be a little crazy. Sure, for the Raw Festival.
Okay, we'll just wait for Chris to sort out. I think he's just finding a good place to get Wi-Fi. Eight viewers now. Hi everyone. We're chatting with Chris Kendall now. I'm not sure what's happening, but I'm sure he'll come on in a moment. And right, he's went off. He's went off again now. Let's see. Tanny Raw's here. Awesome. Unbelievable. So Tanny, how are you today? Gonna try and get Chris back on for you guys. See how he's doing. He might be. I think he's at he's at a Swedish raw vegan festival. Yeah. Oh, here I go again. It's a beautiful day. Chris Kendall.
Super beautiful here.
Can you show us around a little bit? Can you show us a bit of the festival? Is there people there yet?
People are arriving between now and the next hour. It's just starting today.
Just
And the Wi-Fi, I'm not sure how far it will go, but here's some festival grounds. Some of the happy festival peoples.
Oh wow. They've got your t-shirts.
Love and seasonal fruit shirt.
Yeah. They've got your t-shirts. Awesome.
But I think the connection isn't too good. So this is actually where I'm staying and where the yoga is going to be. All fancy and stuff, VIP access.
Chris, see how your phone's maybe like if it's here or if it's here. See if you can flip it
Mm-hmm.
like that. So take it
Oh,
from
so
this angle and go like
okay.
this, or maybe on the screen it would be like this. But because your,
I tried this
I'll tell
before.
your face is
Seem-
like, yeah, there you go. That's it. That's it, Rare.
It seems no matter which way I do it, I'm sideways.
That's you. That's the position.
This way? This is the position.
That's the perfect position.
I was in this position before, and you guys said I was sideways.
Okay, that's my fault then.
No, it's
Uh,
okay. It's okay.
Excellent, right? I think we've got it going now. So
Yeah. Fun. Never heard this before.
yeah, I'm just trying this. You now, I don't know. It's just like a broadcasting software, I guess. I don't know a lot about it, but just trying it today. And yeah, so are you the chef at this festival, the Swedish festival?
Has anyone heard of this? Yes. Oh, Chris, you're such a beautiful day. This is neat.
Did you? Sorry, Chris. Did
Oh,
you
so you
hear
guys
me?
have been on for a little while. I'm just looking back through some of the talk, uh, stuff like that. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna be present here instead of looking. No, cancel. There we go. So what's going on? What's the thought pattern here with the this live broadcast?
Just a relaxed hangout. I mean, people are already watching us right now, so we're just. I'm just going to be on all day doing a kind of Q&A, and if anyone wants to be part of that, and obviously some of the speakers connected with the Fruit Festival, like yourself, are going to be part of the thing today, and if other
Yeah,
people
yeah.
are going to join, then that's great as well. So that's what
I'm so excited for the Fruit Fest. Yeah,
What's that?
having a blast out in Sweden. It's pretty. I'm so excited to be coming out there to the UK Fruit Fest and to the whole area.
Yeah.
It's gonna be super fun. I'm having a blast in Sweden right now. It's pretty sweet here too.
How long is that? Is that starting today and going on this weekend?
Wonder if I can get the thing. Not sure if I'm in illegal places. Maybe modem is back here. Is everyone who's listening coming to the festival?
Sorry?
Nice.
Can you hear me, Chris?
Were you there last year, Andy? Or the year before? Did I meet you 2 years ago?
Yeah, Andy's coming.
Oh, sweet. Cool. You're right. Okay. Cool.
Chris might not be able to hear me, so I'll ask him some questions in the chat.
Hope
Oh, you
so.
can hear me?
Yeah. Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how to type. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's bit a little bit less. Cool. Good. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear me.
All right, okay.
Okay, that's cool.
We've got it going. Right, okay, good. So are you the chef at the Swedish event?
Hopefully, I'm gonna take you guys. Woo! You guys are coming with me into my room. Oh, I locked the door. Wow, not very trusting of me, is it? Look at this jack. Ooh. I'm gonna grab my battery, my phone, so I don't die. I'm not the chef at the Swedish event here. I'm two yoga classes, a lecture, which is going to be on satiation, true hunger, and emotional eating, as well as a food demo. And I actually haven't even decided what I'm going to make for the food demo yet. It's going to be random based on what's available here at the festival, and in case there's one other guest or other lectures. So it's a pretty chill time for me here. I really only have 3 over the next 3 days, but pretty mellow, pretty relaxed. Southern fruit up there. Oh. Tanny, are you coming to this year again? No. Well, hopefully next year.
Yeah,
But you're
I
coming
mean,
to UK.
when at Woodstock last year, they were giving, I think they give you like a survey after the event, and they say who should we bring, and I said they should bring Tanny to Woodstock, but I think Tanny couldn't make it maybe because of
Uh,
I think because of her work last year maybe. Yeah, you were checking to fly to the Europe. Well, Europe's a scary place at times. Chris, you're moving
described a lot.
around a lot. I'm not sure if it's helping the the broadcast. Have you found a good spot?
I'm missing a lot of what's being said.
I'm not saying that much. I'm just you're cutting out
Man,
sometimes.
I wish I had some mango.
Why are
All
all the
right,
raw
girls.
food men
I want
sing?
to know why all the raw food men are ... So what's the rest of the question?
Single.
Are single?
The question
Is
is
that what the question is?
why are all raw food men single?
Are you just putting that there? I don't know. If all right, I know a bunch that are in. If I was in a relationship for a few years and have been out one for I guess just less than a year. So it seems to me that in the last 6 a lot of people who are in breakups or themselves and finding themselves amongst newfound values and the energies and shit. Crazy known universe. Now there's 4 of us. Hey, we're four pretty spectacular people.
I am single right now, Tanny. I was
Yeah,
single
you
a
are.
lot. I was single a lot when I was eating whatever, you know. So I don't know if that's a big impact, but I will say a few things. I think that when I've dated a bit over the last year or so, I've probably been on more dates in the last year or so than ever because I just thought I would I would go on more dates. And I think when it comes up that you're vegan even or raw vegan, I think some people are uncomfortable with that. And there's some people as well that come from problematic backgrounds with food, like some women maybe have an eating disorder background or know someone that has, and they're concerned that if they hang out with you, they might develop something. They might, I don't know. So I think that can, but at the same time, would you do you really want to be with someone that is is like that? I don't know, but um, yeah, that's some thoughts on it. Uh, I think, by the way, I don't think Tim Van Orden is single, Tanny. So just to tell you that, just to disappoint you there, but I don't I don't think Tim is single. um, yeah, Tim. I think Tim found his his other half. You know, someone who's very like him in many ways, a really high level athlete, um, and all that kind of stuff. But that's not for me to say. That's for Tim to say. Obviously, I don't know if he speaks about that online or whatever. So I don't know what's happening there. And Dan the man had a girlfriend for a long time,
I found the router because
who I think was also raw, pretty much. And you've had relationships, Chris, with people that are raw and people that aren't raw, I believe. Can you hear? Can you hear me?
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, I've had relationships with that are definitely not, um, but yeah, of course, Ashley, raw. I've had some without though. A girlfriend before Ashley herself and just enjoyed her for who she was. I for me for a long term relationship, congruent, and have I'm drawn to and appreciate and love so many people, and I've met amazing that I just can't help but want to learn more. In a way, sometimes it's funny. I feel like having relationships that aren't super similar sometimes grows the message, because it gets to people, opens them up in different ways when they're, growing with somebody. That noise you're making is the worst.
Yeah, yeah, Tim. The video is. I think Chris is coming out and in a bit. I don't know how clear I am, but we'll just try and keep on making it work. Tim said, "Is that been on more dates or eaten more dates?" Well, probably both, Tim. But yeah, uh, Chris is fine. Chris is fine, really. So everyone's hearing Chris okay.
Oh, you can hear me. Hey,
It's
a
me.
hard time hearing Ronnie.
I think that's some trolling there from Tam P. Yeah, Matt. Okay. Yeah, Chris, we're just trying to make it work for a while. Um, you're speaking about the social aspects of of dealing with a raw vegan lifestyle, kind of socially and things like that. What are your tips for that with people?
To ask questions. Hmm. I'm gonna have to go in the next little bit, not right now, but in the next bit. But if anyone has something to chat about or just thoughts, I'm having a hard time hearing stuff. But if you can hear me, then I can look at what's being typed.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
My breath smells like garlic. It's not a fruit lily.
I think we might leave it for now, Chris, and maybe we can get you on another time or a little later, or we'll do something else. But the the audio's dropping in and out, and the picture's stopping, so we'll maybe talk to you later, and and speak to you soon. See you later. So yeah, so Chris is still here. The problem there, Chris, I don't know if you can hear me or not. Your video was stopping a bit, and it was the audio was coming in and out, so it was hard to really get that going as a conversation. But I'm still here. Tam Parker became your fan. We'll maybe try it again, Chris. I don't know if you want to try and if you've got a good spot, we can maybe get you on again. Okay, we'll try. Let's try it one more time. Let's try it one more time because people want to speak to you. So excited watching you type.
Guys, really close. We're gonna do a live broadcast with Have you seen it at all? I don't have cellular service.
I think, yeah.
Not over there. No. Maybe if I just stand in the closet and see if it works better. I'm inside the router now. Check this out. Oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, totally hear you. Yeah.
Another device.
I don't know if
you
I
can go. It's fiber here.
Yeah.
But,
can you do this over the computer, the phone? It's just an app.
Begin a computer, it should be better. Perhaps.
Okay. Well, I'll make do with this, and if they say otherwise, thank you so much. Can you hear me, Ronnie?
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit. Yeah.
He didn't tell me all about you. But I'll see you soon, I suppose. Have you guys used this app in a way that it was really smooth and works good?
Well, I'm using it on desktop, so I'm just at the.
He's tied right now.
I'm at my laptop using the webcam.
Ronnie, are you on your phone or are you on your computer?
On my computer. Who is this Tam P?
On my phone right now. Perhaps it would have been better. I'm gonna try to go.
Okay, how's it going now, Chris? Hello, hello.
Hello?
Are you hearing me consistently?
Um, it's
You hearing me there, Chris? Okay, we'll drop Chris for the moment. It seems once again that it's not quite working out there. But we'll maybe try and get him on another time. We'll get him on later. My tap's off. Yeah, so Tam, he is a friend of mine in Glasgow. He's not really what you would call a fruitarian or a raw vegan or a vegan or a concerned about a healthy diet at all. He's but he does like to come on and I don't know, troll me a little bit every now and then. So I would like to get someone else on if anyone else wants to chat, and we'll go back and forth. We can maybe ask answer some questions for people. Um, I'm sorry that didn't quite work out so well there with Chris, but we might. Yeah, it seems like it wouldn't stay. It wouldn't quite. Even if it could have just been the audio, it would have probably worked quite well, Chris. But yeah, it was a new app. It might have worked your first time using that app. I don't know how well it works on the phone. I'm getting a phone call right now, so I'm just gonna take this call. Give me a second. Hello? Hi, Kay. Do you mind if I phone you back later on? Okay. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Okay. Right. Right, no problem. Bye. Bye. Right, so that was someone I know that's thinking of coming to the festival. They wanted to speak to me about it. Um, that was Kay, and yeah, she might be coming. She might not be coming. I don't really know. She was there last year. So Tim's asked, do you eat a lot of greens in your diet? To be honest, right now, Tim, I've not been eating a lot of greens. I like to eat salads for sure. But what I've been eating a lot of recently is tomatoes in terms of for savoury food, and I've been enjoying ripe tomatoes. Can you do your John Rose impression? Yeah, I need to take my top off though. I need to take all my. I need to have a six pack and everything, and have pecs and all that. Excited to connect to the festival. If you do this again, let me know. I'll try it on computer. Yeah, we should try it on computer, Chris. So greens, I'm not eating a lot of greens at the moment. Not consciously. I think last thing I had was kale chips. Made some kale chips. Not very good kale chips, but made them like a couple of weeks ago. But I've really not had a proper salad. Well, I had one last weekend. Um, I was out with a friend and had a salad, but not been eating a lot of greens. I don't know how important or not that is long term. I think some people, I know that Doug's opinion is you really need to get a lot of greens as well, and others, Anne Osborne and other people that have done it long term, they don't eat a lot of greens. So I guess it kind of depends, you know. Who really knows what's better or anything? But I do enjoy eating salad for sure. I enjoy eating savoury vegetables, so I'm not against eating greens at all. Hello, this is John Rose. My name is John Rose. Today I'll be speaking about the gift of evil. And to understand that, I need to speak about Greek mythology. I don't know if that's a good John Rose impression, but John Rose is a guy that, for all of you that don't know him, he's kind of, you broke you now with that impression. He's a guy that, if you know who Fully Rockistina is, who is someone that has a big, really big online following, about 800,000 subscribers on YouTube, and there might be more on Instagram, I don't know. And she follows a raw vegan diet, 80-10-10. She calls it Fully Raw Diet, and John Rose was the first person that got her into that, so she was pretty sick when she was younger. And John Rose got her into that. And John Rose has YouTube videos now, and he goes on for quite long. He's very interesting, but he goes into some really complicated stuff, areas. He speaks about a lot of things that like he goes into Greek mythology all the time. He goes into Perseus and all to explain things about raw food. More passion, less English. But yeah, all of his videos start with, "Hello, my name is John Rose. My name is John Rose." Sometimes says that. I really love that guy. I know quite a few people that have just got obsessed with him recently. Yeah, I don't know. He's kind of spreading like wildfire slowly, because he's also 62 years old, and he's got the physique of like a 25-year-old Olympic athlete or something like that. Crazy. So who's got a webcam and wants to join for a little while? Don't worry, you're not being judged by too many people. John Rose rocks. That's true. He does rock. Tim is saying it's women YouTubers who have the most followers. Well, that's a point of debate, because Freely was saying recently that Durian Rider always said she'll always be more successful than him because she's a woman and she's got the body and everything, and women will always be more popular on YouTube, I think, you know, because I don't know, you know, because if you're a good looking woman, then you'll get a lot of views and a lot of followers automatically. But the biggest YouTube channel is a guy called PewDiePie, who, what does PewDiePie do? I think he does games reviews or something like that. And there's a lot of big male YouTube channels as well. But when it comes to healthy eating and healthy living and that kind of genre, it's more women that are interested in that, I think. So if you look at some of the festivals and events and raw vegan stuff in general, you'll probably find slightly more women attend than men. Although it's not too unbalanced, but yeah, he is a gamer, absolutely. But Tanny, for example, you probably, like, I have probably more guys watching than women, and I've got a small channel, but I think if you, you don't really need to be a man or a woman, but you need to connect with a lot of people. So if you can't really connect with women, then you're gonna lose a lot of viewers. Obviously, if they can't connect with you on something, if you can't connect with men, you're gonna lose a lot of viewers. Uh, and I've a lot, so, you know, some of them like Christina. I never really watched a lot of her videos. Um, I never really watched a lot of Freely, but I've watched more than Tanny than definitely watched more than Tanny than them. I would say my channel is underground. I should just buy some advertising. I don't. I should just get buy some fake subscribers. Yeah, so Tanya's saying she has mostly women, 86%. So that would suggest to me not only that I would suggest that a lot of the women, a lot of the people that are searching for raw vegan recipes are going to be female, and that's not to be sexist or anything, but I think that's what the statistics would prove. Um, I I think that I think yeah, I think that's probably pretty clear. I think that's probably pretty certain that yeah, we can talk about how YouTube works a little bit. So if someone comes along to YouTube and they're interested in raw veganism, they maybe they don't type in like raw vegan lady or raw vegan man. They're not searching for a man or a woman or whatever, but they're searching for recipes. They're searching for maybe some information on it, and most of those people that are searching are women. Whereas if you looked at a different type of channel, you would find mostly men searching for that. So, for example, in the community of business, if it was more to do with business or something or financial stuff, some of those things you'd find would be lots and lots of men are searching for that or looking into that. And I don't know if that reflects in some households. Maybe maybe men look after making money and the woman looks after the food sometimes. That obviously that's a stereotyped role that I'm talking about there, but I'm just talking about across society. How are people, you know, a woman's probably taking more role in her children's diet and whatever than the man is, and maybe he's out working, and that's the traditional way things were balanced or whatever. So I'm not saying obviously that's I'm not trying to say that's how things should be or anything like that. I'm just saying if we think about it, probably for whatever reason, women are searching for that more. At the same time, whether we like it or not, women are probably judged on or feel like they're judged on their appearance more, or their figure maybe has an effect more on their confidence, their life, whatever. Men probably get judged slightly more on what they produce, what they do, what they create. Whereas I don't know if does that make sense? Maybe Tam says I'm overthinking it. I'm old school. But I think what I'm trying to say is not that that's everyone or not that that's individual or whatever. I'm just trying to make it sound in a way. So when it comes to health and things and all these things, there's probably more women looking into it and interested in it. And you can even see that in statistics, like women live longer, probably because they take care of themselves better and have, you know, more of an interest in that kind of thing and a sensitivity towards it. So I think if you're a woman YouTuber and your genre is raw vegan or fruitarian or diet or clean eating or whatever, then you're probably going to connect with women more, you know. But I still think I don't, you know, it's not a big deal in my life to be a big YouTuber. I just enjoy I enjoy putting videos up now and then and talking and I think it's I like being part of the community basically. I like being part of the conversation. That's it really. But yeah, there does seem to be some people that start a channel and they just explode really quickly, and I don't know if more women have that happen than men. But you know, if you look at a guy like John Rose, if he keeps going, he's got a few things that people are going to like about him. I think sometimes his stuff is quite complex, but he has a lot of passion, so people really like his passion. And a lot of guys are going to look at his physique and they're going to think, you know, because I think when men get into this, they're looking for the physique, you know, they're looking for the workouts and so maybe guys are going on YouTube looking for that rather than looking for the diet stuff. I don't know. Yeah, Tani doesn't do drama. Tani, do you want to join? Have you got a webcam? Do you want to join us for a few minutes? Yeah, I've done a little bit of drama, I think, but I don't try and, you know, I made a video about things that I don't disagree with about some people and some things like that. But what some people do is they start to realize they start to realize that a certain type of video, like a video hate, like saying Freely's really bad or saying Christina's really bad. They do a video like that, they get a lot of views, and they keep on doing it. And that's what I don't really like, because they go, oh, that's a money spinner right there. And so they keep on doing pointless videos on the same person again and again. Eventually that person responds, and then they get even more views, and then they keep it going. And I don't like that. I don't mind people making a video criticising someone or saying, here's the things I don't like about what this person says. But when they just realise, oh, if I make a video on that person, I get a lot of views, so I'm just going to keep on making videos about that person. That's something I don't really like or enjoy. Yeah, Tani's got a great channel. And once again, you know, okay, we'll try. And I didn't really announce this to anyone, but I was okay.
Prepared to be sick this morning.
How are you, Tani?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's very, very loud. Have you got a microphone in or something?
It's loud. How's that?
I can hear you. Do you hear me? Hello, hello?
Hi,
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Yes, excellent. Okay, brilliant. And what are you up to? What are you doing today?
Well, I'm fixing to go to the farmer's market so I can whip up some fabulous recipe on my channel, of course.
Yeah, brilliant. So you're in South Carolina?
Yes.
Fantastic. And what kind of farmers market is it? Is it all fruits and vegetables? Is it all sorts of things?
It's all fruit and vegetables, and some people there doing microgreens and natural sauerkraut and kimchi and that kind of thing. And there's also some like meat substitutes and vegan alternatives and stuff there, so it kind of is good for people, because around here no one even knows how to pronounce the word vegan, you know? I mean, it is like, what's a vegan? I'm like, okay.
So,
It really is. People don't understand. A lot of people that I coach and work with are over towards California and that area, or in Australia, lots of different areas. But where I live, it is really like beer and chicken wings. That's what people eat. They don't meat and potatoes. They don't understand. And people my age, I'm almost 45, are walking around basically crippled.
Yep.
With no vibrancy and no health left at 45 years old, and it's sad. So the farmers market down there is really, it's great for people to get to see a little bit of a glimpse, and a lot of those people come down from Asheville, which is about an hour from here in North Carolina, and it's a little more open-minded up there, so it's kind of great.
well, I heard that Carolina, I don't know if it's north or south, but it's kind of like a heartland for cigarettes, or it's where tobacco grew, so
Yes.
very high smoking rate in Carolina.
A lot of the lower part of the state, down towards the coast and all, there are lots of tobacco crops and different things. And years ago, people used to even not send their kids to school so they could harvest the tobacco crops. I mean, it's very, that's true. Lots of people smoking in this area. Lots of people just drinking and just basically doping themselves down on pharmaceutical drugs and doping themselves down on coolies that we want to call food. It's just the area I live in. And but on a side note, what's kind of good about that for people to see is you really can eat a low-fat, raw vegan diet anywhere. Even where I am, no matter where you are, you can do your own thing, no matter who you live with or who you're around,
What, Tani, why for you is it 100% and not Lawson 4 or something like that?
There's a lot of reasons. Number one, I would have to say I'm almost addicted to the high of how I feel on an all low-fat, raw vegan, high nutrient diet. It is night and day to me. For this September will be 10 years that I've been on a low-fat, raw vegan diet, and 5 years prior to that was I fumbling around, trying to heal myself, realizing that no doctor was going to help me, and that I pretty much had to come up with something myself, and I'm floundering around on like a Joel Fuhrman type eat to live type thing, and trying to incorporate grains. My diseases were not getting worse, but they weren't healing. I wasn't absorbing food. I was not like I am now. Then I trickled into raw, and back then the only example was more, gourmet raw, which still I was getting a little better on. But Bonnie, when I trickled into low-fat raw, high fruit, balancing with greens, getting a lot of vegetables, some but low, healthy plant fat every day, did I heal in 8 months? Did I lose 88 pounds, and have I kept it off for almost a decade? Why would I abandon the very thing that has healed me? Question. You know what I mean? And when I see people going back, or, you see a lot of people really say fall for raw, okay? And then they want to bash raw because they frankly just don't want to do it anymore. Okay, that's your shortcoming, not mine. Don't put that on me. Don't tell me I've got deficiencies when I clearly am riding on a high vibe, way higher than anyone I know. I mean, a lot of people I see, you're talking about people in, let's say somebody's 20 years old. Okay, well, you can hold on to your health a while when you're 20 years old, but when you get middle age and you're still holding on to it, it's a different thing. It's a real different thing, and it's the very thing that gives me the energy and stamina and the quick thought process to do what I do. I've seen a lot of people that had a channel, and there's there's no need to name any names, but they've been raw for a long time, and then they go to cook, and suddenly they don't feel like making videos anymore. They just don't have that same drive to connect, because it is a something that you're trying to convey to people that you want them to have. You want them to understand, you know?
Yep, absolutely.
But you know what, Ronnie, you know, of course we have to look at where people are. I mean, are they coming from a standard diet? Then sure, if they're going to eat raw all day and they're going to eat high nutrient cooked meal at night, awesome, that rocks, right? It depends on where people are. But if you're talking about a 5-pound pot of white rice and you're going to call that the highest vibrancy you can live on, I'm not really on board with that. But if you were eating chicken wings and beer, again, you raw better than you were, right?
Annie, you've done a lot. I believe you've done a lot of coaching. You've talked to people about the lifestyle and help people live it. I've spoken to a few people here. I've not done a lot of coaching, but I've realised that often what someone says they're doing, the story changes. You know, you speak to them the next time, they're doing something else. You speak to them the next time, all of a sudden they're not vegan. You know, the story changes all the time. Do you have any experience with people, you know, saying they're doing one thing and then they're actually eating another way?
Yes, and I find people don't want to be honest with themselves, so why do they want to be honest with other people? You know, I think it's easy to look away and try to have a good day, or you're fixing your kids their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and you're eating the crust and you're just pretending like that doesn't count, or they're floundering around so much that they don't actually get to experience the grandness of low-fat raw, and if they ever did, they would never go back, because no food is going to take me away from the feeling that I feel every day. People see how I eat. I mean, every day for 2.5 years have I put out 1,420 videos every day that I come to people, because all I have to do is flip on the camera and show you what I'm doing. Talk about why it works. This morning I put out a video talking about how women don't have to have these massive menstrual problems. They don't have to have all these things. They don't have to be in menopause at 44 years old. You know? They can feel like it's way different than that. They can feel alive, you know? But I do find, I'm doing a coaching program now, which is like a 5-week extended program where I'm working with 10 people. It's actually 11, but I'm working with those people. And I have their notes right here in front of me, but we started out with, you know, their individual, and then we're having follow-ups, and we've got a Facebook group and all this. It's kind of great because I can be there to encourage people to say, hey, yeah, I know, like, that could be a detox, or that's your old way sneaking back in. You have got to be laser focused on new habits, or your old habits rolling you over, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm finding is that when people can bring to the judgment for themselves, like a food journal, or really looking at why they're falling into these habits, that they can break those things. You know, and with a little encouragement and looking towards people that have been to where they were, you know, it's encouraging. And you were talking about the demographics of people's channels, or who's watching them, or whatever. And I do have mostly women, and I have coached some men, but the women that I talk to are a wide variety of ages too.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are concerned about health problems, but people have weight challenges. Women have weight issues. I don't care what they say. Most women are not going to want to live in a body that's 100 pounds overweight, and they feel nothing feminine about them anymore. They don't feel like moving. They don't feel, they can't find themselves anymore, you know? And every individual on this planet, we are the only person, the only genetic makeup, the only trillion cells to make up us in this whole world to infinity and beyond. We deserve to feel our best, to give our best to those people and the causes that we love. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I love your passion. Yeah.
You know I can talk all day about this stuff, Ronnie.
What's been your most viewed video? What's your most popular video?
One of them is don't like zucchini, spiralize this. And that is because I was on that video in basically a bathing suit top. But it's a great video. And I want to touch on that. Another video I have is I was in the car with my son Christopher, and it's called My Eye Color Change on Raw Vegan. And as you see, my eyes, always the white's white and always the blue is eye-popping blue. But see, they used to not look like that. They were very murky green gray, and I was very, very sick. You know, a sick body shows in your eyes, and it shows in your skin and your hair. I almost had no hair. I had lost a third of my hair on top. And so that's a big viewed video. I've got another one, all vegan granny dances, where I'm showing belly dancing moves. Again, those videos, you know, I'm not really one to flash around my body a whole lot, though I think it's important because people need to see that you can be fit and you can be slim. And if people never saw my lower half, I could be sitting on a 50-pound rough rear, right? I mean, and I could be not toned. And when I'm talking about saying, like, okay, Tanya, let's see how you don't have any. Or, you know, people in this community want to, like, lash back out if, let's say, they gain weight, and they don't expect people to notice that. Well, you are on YouTube talking about the benefits you're getting from raw vegan, and you're not holding on to them. Okay, that doesn't match, and somebody's going to call you out, and if that was me, I would expect them to, you know? So those videos are, you know, a lot of times I'm dancing or different things on the video, but I'm just being myself, you know? But the eye color change one is a big one. Also one that's titled, How Long It Took Me to Lose 88 Pounds on Raw Vegan.
Right.
Again, a weight loss title. And, you know, even back then I never thought about the titles. Like now I try to put raw vegan, or I try to, but you know, I'm never about driving views from drama, because that's just not what I'm about. I'm here to spread my message of love and light, you know?
Yeah, I mean, in talking about weight loss, what do you think? Do you think people have too high an expectation? Like they expect they're going to lose lots and lots of weight really quickly. When you were losing weight, did you think, was it like a pound a week, or what was the kind of, how rapid was it?
It took me about 8 months to lose those 88 pounds. And I had weighed in at about 210 pounds. Sure, I'm tall, but I'm not 7'5", you know, like I don't need to weigh that. But that weight loss came off pretty rapid once I stopped putting toxins in my body. Once I started, you see, rebounding. Once I started moving that lymph system so my body could release some of those stored toxins. Once I started really balancing my fruit with greens. Once I started getting a lot of hydration. Not only putting in everything my body needed, but cutting out everything it didn't. You know, there was no coffee, there was no slip-ups, there was no, let me go out partying with my friends and starting it tomorrow. There was none of that. There was actually doing it. You know, there was actually saving my own life because I didn't have a choice. But the weight loss, people, they have high expectations, but they don't want to take the high road a lot of times. I think people love to hear good things about their bad habits, like, you can eat all you want as long as it's vegan. Here's the thing. If you're eating 2 boxes of vegan cupcakes, you are in fact destroying your health. You're not building your health, you're destroying your health. Sure, nobody had to die, and that's awesome. But you're in fact killing your own health. when people do that and go that route, or they think, okay, I can eat this 5 pounds of potatoes every night, and I'm not crapping on any plan, because again, depends on where you are. But let's say they think that, and they're putting on weight, and they're becoming crickety, and they're becoming mucusy, and they can't digest grains well, and all these different things. And then they come off the diet, and then it's vegan's fault. No, it's your fault because you listen to very skewed thinking and you didn't think for yourself. If you're a woman who weighs 110 pounds and you sit in your rocking chair all day, you don't need 4,000 calories.
Yeah.
I think people want to think calories don't matter because back in the day when raw vegan came around, obviously if you're looking at a pack of Pop-Tarts, it's 400 calories versus 4 pounds of a General salad is 400 calories. You have to eat more volume to get the calories. But yet, what kind of things are you eating? Are you eating, you see what I'm saying? Like, we've got to look at fresh, whole, ripe, raw fruits and vegetables for the win. Getting our calories from fruit, balancing with greens, veggies to get lots of minerals, a little healthy plant fat to keep us balanced and regulated, all these things. So when I talk to people, a lot of times, yes, we talk about how many calories do they need, what's their fitness level, what's their disease situation they're coming from, what kind of medications are they on, how old are they, all these different factors, and I try my best just to help them come up with some kind of plan. And just like all these papers right here, which is where I'm doing my group. See, everybody has their own place they're starting from, So I found that people that go on a vegan diet, if you are going on a vegan diet, okay, and maybe you have been calorie restricting, maybe you've been eating 800 calories and you have somewhat slowed your metabolism down. I don't think it takes your body 7, 8, 9 years to heal metabolic damage. I think we need to slowly come back up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that sounds stupid when you hear it out loud, doesn't it? Like sometimes when you say these things out loud, like, I can eat 10,000 calories a day as long as it's vegan. That sounds preposterous.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what I was going to say is if people are eating like way too much and they're gaining consistently every month, they came to a vegan lifestyle and they had 50 pounds to lose to begin with, and then they're gaining every month and now they have 90 pounds to lose. Guess what? That ain't working for you. Like that's not working. You got to tweak your plan. You're on the right path. You need to refine what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Metabolic damage, yes. Somebody's asking me how's Christopher. My son rocks. Let me tell you something. He's just graduated from high school. He's got a free ride at the community college for robotics and networking. He is on point. The boy works 2 jobs, funds his own self. He and I, we're a team.
Excellent.
And he is, he's plant-based, my son. He eats cooked plant-based food. I don't buy, processed. I mean, occasionally he might have, like, some Earth Balance cheese mix or something, or whatever. He's a 17-year-old teenager. If that's the worst thing he's doing, we're doing pretty good,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that when people are eating thousands and thousands of calories, whenever I've seen people putting on weight, and people used to say they were putting on weight with 8-10-10 raw vegan, and they were putting on weight, and I've started to realise more and more that people do kind of lie, not lie, but they misrepresent what they're eating. And I think
yes.
the problem with Rottle 4 was not necessarily. I think there's a lot of good things about the diet, but everyone was going to restaurants. It just seemed like everyone was making videos. All the people that were part of that lifestyle and promoting it were all showing themselves at restaurants, showing themselves like at Disney eating ice cream, like vegan ice cream and everything. and you just think people are going to watch that and think that's what you're meant to do every day.
You know what, Ronnie? I guess people can see. I don't eat like that. I don't consume MSG on my food or all these. To me, how many nutrients can I get per calorie for the win? And I just don't go there. I never go there. I don't. You're right. People look at that and they think, and they're looking at somebody flashing this rock hard, awesome body, but then they're seeing them eating out at Chinese every night. Okay, that doesn't match up. But people are just sitting and they hear, and sometimes when people are yelled at really loud, it's real convincing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is really convincing. I think there was a documentary on in the UK last week, and it was a lady that was following stuff online on YouTube, and she was talking about, well, her point of view was that all the YouTuber vloggers who are speaking about health and diet, that these people are leading towards eating disorders and things like that. And I didn't really like that message because herself, she was very overweight, and I thought, well, she's come from an eating, I mean, the standard diet is an eating disorder that's leading to people putting on a lot of weight, and that's more of a concern than someone trying out a vegetarian diet or a raw vegan diet or eating potatoes for 30 days or whatever it is someone's trying out. But do you think, do you come across people with eating disorders? Do you worry that people are getting influenced in bad ways and want to be skinny as possible, stuff like that?
I talk to a lot of people that have had eating disorders, but a lot of times I find that it's people that have wanted to lose weight, and they've gotten into this weird mentality. Okay, here's an example. Years ago, when I did try to eat cooked food, okay, and I was like this first 5 years of this 15-year journey, I have a video called Cooked Carbs Were a Slippery Slope for Me. And I got a lot of hate and lashback on that video, but it was true. And every time I would go to that, I wouldn't just eat. I never had like a binge eating disorder as a teenager. Yes, I tried to restrict my calories because all I knew was, okay, I've had this many calories today and I can still fit in my pants. That was the goal of my life, like most teenage girls, and every time I would eat more, I would gain, and so I had that like calorie restriction mentality, but I didn't have an eating disorder. When I went to vegan, I was trying to eat. Beans and rice don't digest for me. I had an impaired digestive tract, and I'll tell you what, the good book is called Grain Damage by Doug Graham, and that is a little-known book. It's a little pamphlet, and if you've never read that, it'll change your thinking on grains. And I know you probably read it, Ronnie, but it's a good little book. But anyway, when I would be going to have some, let's say, corn pasta. I can't eat gluten, or rice pasta or something like that. Okay, so I would cook up this huge pot, okay, and as I drained it, I would put in another huge pot to cook because I knew after I ate that, even though I wasn't going to be able to breathe, I was going to consume another pot. I was going to eat so much of that low nutrient food that I would have to either basically puke it up or undo my bra and go to bed because I couldn't breathe. Now, I'm a person that didn't have an eating disorder, and then suddenly, it's because it wasn't balanced. It's because I wasn't getting the nutrients, So a lot of people I talk to with eating disorders, it's the fact that they're not giving their body what their body needs, Or they're going all day and they're not eating, and then they tend to binge, or that kind of thing. There's another book by Dr. Alan Goldhammer. He runs I think it's True North. It's called Pleasure Trap. And that's a good book because it talks about how the body's going to gravitate towards more dense calories when it needs that. It's a survival mechanism,
Yeah, excellent, Tanya. I mean, what's a kind of average day for you as a raw vegan?
What's an average day? Well, first of all, by the way, Andy, see, I do not have an accent. An average day looks about like, I always have some lemon water when I get up, because I find it alkalizes the system. It helps my gut pH. It does a lot of things. It tonifies me. A lot of things has it done for me, and I've been doing that for a decade. Okay, so I funnel in about 32 ounces of that when I get up. Typically, my first 2 meals are green smoothies, because I am going to pack in those greens every day. I'm going to do it. I usually get in about 2 pounds of greens. Yeah. Sometimes more, but usually 2. So in a green smoothie, I have a video I did about a month ago called Green Smoothie for Weight Loss. There's a big difference in a 10 banana, 15 date, coconut water, Dixie Crystal sugar smoothie than a green smoothie with some bananas for some fruit energy, or more high glycemic fruit, and then some berries to balance, lots of greens, maybe a little chia seeds to give you some stamina, and some water. That's 2 different things. So I have a very well-balanced green smoothie 2 times, breakfast and lunch. I make sure to chew that, because, digestion starts in the mouth, mindfully chewing that. So each one of those has got at least a half a pound of greens in there. I have some videos on chia seeds too, where I basically regrow my hair, and my skin is totally different since I've been having those. But I monitor how many I have, because clearly that the fat, a tablespoon of chia seeds is only 77 calories, and only 22 calories of those comes from fat. So let's keep that in mind. So about half, to 1 tablespoon of that. Okay, so we got 2 green smoothies. Then later on in the day, I'm going to have a snack. I'm going to have probably some celery, because I want to get in that natural sodium. I'm going to have some fruit hit of calories right there, and depending on your calorie needs, you could adjust to that. But I'm probably going to have 300-400 calories of fruit right there. I might make it into a no-fat dip, like let's just say mango and red bell pepper, because that's going to make like a no-fat French dressing type. I'm going to dip that celery in there. I'm going to have other veggies. They're basically like a free food. The nutrients are very low calories, and they're awesome for you, right? I love to get cucumber. They're great for the skin. Anyway, so I'm going to have that snack. I might even substitute that dip on my fruit. I might do a banana ice cream. Okay, so then at night, I'm going to have a mammoth amount of veggie, extravaganza. I'm probably going to have a salad. I'm always going to have greens. I'm probably, I am the low-fat raw vegan dressing master, because there was none of that, and I had to devise that for myself, right? So I've got a video called How to Make an Awesome Raw Vegan Dressing Every Time, and that video shows you how to take a sweet, a fatty, an acidic, and a salty, and a bulking agent to make a big dressing where you can get all the dressing, right? Satiation is the key. All the veggies at night, right? With a little amount of fat, and that's how I roll every dang day. How's that sound?
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Danny. I think Ted Carr's going to join us soon.
Okay.
I think he's going to join. But
hey, Ted.
Speaking to you.
Look, I did a video the other day, and I was talking about sexy raw vegan men, and clearly you were on there, Ronnie, and I like your new beard trim. I was also talking about Ted Carr, and I saw him the other day on a picture, and he was like, had on these little running shorts, and he was showing his thighs, and I looked at Ted's thighs, and I looked at mine, and I said, dang, Ted, he has got some nice thighs, doesn't he? Anyway, this has been a pleasure, and I'm going to hop off and go to the curb market, but thanks for having me. I've enjoyed this.
See you soon. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Okay, excellent. I'll try and add Ted now if he's here. Let's see. Okay. Every dang day. Indeed, Jonas. Indeed. Where's... Ted, do you have a webcam on right now? I think I just click to get you to join. I just click. Oh yeah, I can guest you right now. Cool. I'm inviting you now, Ted. Tanny Ross said you had nice thighs. I don't know if you heard that. I'm connecting with you now, Ted. You should come through quite soon. Ah, there you are.
You can hear me?
Okay, I'm just going to turn you up. Tanny was quite loud, so I can probably hear you better.
Cool. I literally like just woke up maybe 20 minutes ago. 10 minutes of meditation.
Okay.
Quick washing break. Now I'm here.
Yeah, you've got the meditation eyes.
I just woke up.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I'm going to see you next week in Denmark, I believe.
Yeah. I'm stoked.
Fantastic.
I might need to turn the
So,
headphones on. I think my mom's still sleeping. One sec. Test, test. Test, test. Test, test.
yeah, I can still hear you.
Test. Testing, testing.
Yes,
Talk
it's coming
again.
across. Yeah, it's
Talk.
coming across perfect.
Batteries on these things aren't working or something. It's okay. We'll go live like this. Hey Tanny. Hey Jonas. Hey Lisa. Hey Andy. This is the first time doing
Yeah,
you
so
live.
yeah, I mean, just trying it out really. It's got some little problems, I suppose, but I think really, um, I've always struggled to get a good software that does like a live stream. I know that there's things like Periscope and
Yeah.
Snapchat to some extent, but I think there's a bit of a gap for one that kind of is the one that everyone uses. I
You
don't think
live.
that I don't know if there's one that's really taken over yet.
Yeah, we'll see. I think you live. I've heard a lot about Google Hangouts. I've used a lot as well.
Yeah, yeah. I was using Google Hangouts last year, um, and it just sometimes it's a little complicated. Maybe that's just for me, but uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
this
So
is nice. I
what
like it.
what what are you up to today, Ted?
Today's my last day in Canada, so I'm leaving tonight to go to Europe. Um, so I'm doing a bunch of things. I'm just packing up my passport here. You can see.
Yep.
Um, maybe get some last minute fruit shopping here, um, and just do work on my speeches. I got to deliver a few speeches right there, so I need to put the finishing touches on my speeches and practice my delivery.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, final touches on the speeches and pack and get a lot of meditation in because when I travel, like traveling drains me. So I need to be like maxed out 100% in my battery, and meditation is what brings my battery up 100%. So yeah,
Yeah. So you've got into meditation pretty recently. What's
yeah.
been your what benefits have you seen from it?
Just overall happier, more content, more fulfilled, more calm, sense of feeling healthier, more appreciation, and just way more like just zen and like circumstances in my life. People blame the circumstances in their life, and they don't think the circumstances in their life have anything to do with their state of mind, state of being.
Yeah.
But every circumstance we ever experience is because of our state of mind, and we
Yeah.
experience circumstances as our state allows us to. So just better things are happening in life now that I'm meditating a lot. And I know there's a direct connection there. Most people just think it's a coincidence. Like, oh, when I'm happier, good things happen. They just think it's a coincidence. But no, it's like when you're happier, that's why good things are happening. So
Yeah.
it's like I want to keep
You're quite a
meditating.
big yeah. You're quite you seem to be quite a big believer in like law of attraction and stuff like that, and uh,
Yeah. It's like
I don't know. How do you explain that?
every time. Just works. Just works.
Who's that? Sorry, Bob
It just
Proctor. Did you say Bob Proctor?
No, I like Bob Proctor, but like the law of attraction, just like the law of gravity, just works every time.
Right, right. How do you use it? How do you visualize? Do you write things down?
Um, I do a bit of visualization, but typically visualization comes as a result of really wanting something. Like we just
Okay.
naturally visualize when we want something. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure we all had girlfriends or boyfriends in high school where we just can't get them out of our head, you know? Everyone's
Yeah.
just like you're a guy, you like a girl, you just can't get out of your head. And so you're just like naturally visualizing her, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and so visualization, I don't really like consciously do it as much as I like to be aware of when I'm doing it. But and also I find that when I'm meditating and I'm just letting my thoughts go where they want to go, I'll visualize like my app on the screen of my mind. And I'll visualize the keystrokes and like the cursor on my app. And when someone clicks a button, it'll drop down menu shows up, or like a visualizing what color something should be, or where a picture should be located, or the text box, like what should happen when someone hits enter, like everything. I'm visualizing everything in my head. Just I let it come. I'm like watching myself visualize. I'm not consciously trying to control the visualization. So that's really cool. The other thing I definitely encourage people to do, though, besides meditation, is write down your goals. To actually know what you want. It's kind of like a grocery list. You know, when you go before you go
Yeah.
shopping, know what you want so you can get it.
Yeah.
Um, and you can get it a lot quicker too. If you don't have a list, you don't need a list to go grocery shopping, but you'll for sure spend longer in there if you don't have a list, because you'll go in there and you'll be looking around. You'll be like, oh, okay, what do I want to get? I don't know. And you'll go
Right.
through all the aisles. But instead, you know what you want. You know the aisles, and you go boom, boom, boom. But you get it quicker. So it's like, yeah, I'm 26 now, and it's like if I use my grocery list, I can get everything I want by age 30 rather than waiting until age 45 or something, you know? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
So
another thing.
how did all this fit in with the raw vegan diet or the fruitarian diet?
How
Did
did
you
what? Sorry?
did did you've obviously got a philosophy of having a great life, having an abundant life, whatever. Is that were you always like that before you were into fruitarianism?
Way, man. No way. No way. Um, my clothing, the clothing I wore even said that. Like I had a clothing that like had words on it that says like God hating, booty banging, motherfucking kid. Like I just like didn't want anything to do with any like spiritual woo woo BS, or I believe like when you died, like you just shut off like a battery, like you're just done, or like you're just done. There's nothing after and there's nothing before. It's just like this is just some weird fluke that we're here. All that crap. Anyways, um, then I was in college and I absolutely hated it, and like I was just hating life because I had such a just shite attitude towards it. Then I like because I was such in a low place, I was watching low vibe videos, very low vibrational videos, and one of those low vibe videos was a movie called Faces of Death, and it showed how everything got killed or massacred or slaughtered, or
Yeah.
how everything's life was ended, and it would show monkeys getting their head beaten. It would show alligators eating like safari tour
Yeah.
guides. It would show like cops shooting like robbers like in the head and stuff. It would show men like in the electrocution care like getting electrocuted to death. It would show like really crazy shit. And then it showed this clip of like in a slaughterhouse. What happens to slaughterhouse animals?
Yeah.
Cows, cows, pigs, chickens, and that was like, oh no, like actually I think it only showed cows. It only showed cows, and I was like, oh my god, like that's where red meat comes from. And I was eating so much red meat at the time, and I was like, that's where cows come from. It's like, nope, I can't do it anymore. Now I know, because there was a
Yeah.
vegetarian or vegan in my class, and I was like, yeah, she's just some weird skinny pale girl. I was like, why would she even do that? It's freaking psycho. And for every animal she doesn't eat, I'm going to eat 5. Right? That kind of attitude. And then I watched this video, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with that. I'm not supporting that. That's just
Yeah.
insanity. Why would I want to be a part of that? No way. So that's when I quit red meat. And then one thing led to another. Got off chicken, got off fish. Eventually got off eggs, got off milk. And then I was basically a vegan at that point. And around the time I was going vegan, Ronnie, that's when I found this book on the law of attraction. And either found the book of law of attraction first. I think I actually watched a movie on YouTube first called Thoughts Become Things, and he talked about the law of attraction in that little clip, Thoughts Become Things. And I was like, law of attraction, okay, I'm gonna study that. Then I was at my aunt's house. We went to the library and I took out a book on law of attraction, and then just things spiraled upwards, and I was just like upward spiral. And that's the whole truth behind like know thyself, know thyself. And when you know yourself, you know that you're not like actually like having like you're not a physical being having a spiritual experience. When you know thyself, you realize that you're actually a spiritual being having a physical experience. So we are much more electricity than we are physical.
Yeah.
We're much more electrical than we are physical.
Excellent. So why for you are you 100% raw rather than 90% Russell 4, that kind of thing?
If I got the same benefits and I felt just as good being 95% raw or 90% raw, then I would be 90% raw. I would be 95% raw. In this day and age, everyone claims it's much easier to be 90% raw or 80% raw. But I beg to differ because I feel so good 100% raw and I feel so crappy on 95% raw and so crappy on 90% raw. Like, to me, raw is law. Like, I need to be 100% to feel I'm 100% great. And I'm here on this life for a relatively short period of time. I want to make sure every day is like great. No settling at all. And so 100% raw lets me feel like that. And it's not, people say, yeah, it's easier to be 80% raw, whatever, but it's not easy to feel like crap. It's easy feeling good. And if you just stick it 100%, man, it's much, much, much easier to feel great all the time.
Yeah.
And I've gone through crazy episodes with cooked food, and it's not good, man. It's not good. I do not treat cooked food like good food. I treat it like a drug. And I'm pretty sure everyone else does without even realizing it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the people who eat cooked food, they treat it like a drug without even realizing it. And I don't believe you need to be aware of an addiction to have an addiction.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Just because you're not aware of it doesn't mean you don't have it. It's like cancer. People aren't aware that they have a tumor in their body until they realize, oh crap, it's like stage 3 cancer, there's a big tumor. You've had cancer the whole time, you just weren't aware of it. So same with an addiction. You could be addicted to cooked food or whatever, even cigarettes or marijuana. People smoke weed all the time. They say, oh, I'm not addicted, it's just a plant. It's like, okay, try quitting. Like, well, I couldn't, because then I couldn't sleep, I couldn't do this. But then I realized that once I tried to quit. So same with cooked food. It's very difficult to get off.
Yeah, do you have any tips on that, Ted? Any tips on giving up cooked food?
Yeah, you've got to hold the vision of who you really want to be, of the kind of life you actually want to live. And well, first things first, you've got to admit that you have the addiction. First things first, you've got to admit that you have the addiction. You're not going to get anywhere unless you admit you have an addiction first. So admit that you have the addiction, and then ask for help, like you just did. What tips do you have? That's the second thing, just ask for help. And then the third tip is take that advice, and that advice would be hold the vision of yourself being that raw vegan. Act as if, play the part, change your self-image, work on your self-image. And the way you see yourself is the way you'll live out your life. So see yourself as the raw vegan, and then once things just start clicking together. But then a practical tip is to stock up and stay inspired. Yeah. If you stock up on your fruit is just full, your house is full of fruit, and you're watching videos of Doug Graham and myself and Ronnie and Mike Arnstein and Tanny Raw and Jonas, then it's gonna be so much easier to stay raw. You just gotta stay inspired. Feed not only raw food, but feed your eyes if you want to stay raw.
I feel that there's a lot of people who are kind of on the verge of raw or sort of near 100% raw, whatever, but they still have some negative thoughts about fruit and things, and they'll say, well, I would be 100% raw if I lived in the tropics, or I would be 100% raw, but the fruit round here is really bad. And so I put up a post and I just said, you can get good fruit everywhere. And they said, no, you can't someone was like, oh yeah, try doing it in northern Canada, or try and do it in Alaska or something. So I go on Google Images and I type in supermarket in Alaska, and I find pictures of any like a supermarket like any other with like a big aisle of fruit and everything. So what's it
So
like for you in Canada?
you can prove it to them because you already have that belief. So because you have the belief that you can do it anywhere, Ronnie, you then go and find those images of it and you can find the proof because you already
Yeah,
believe it. Those people who don't believe it, they would never even consider Googling it,
yeah,
right? So because they don't have the belief, they're not going to find the evidence to support that belief. But because you have the belief, you'll find the evidence no matter what. So belief is number one. Like you've gotta hold that image and totally like see it as reality for yourself. And then you'll start finding ways anywhere, like you said, anywhere. So in Canada, most people say, "Oh, there's no way you can be raw here," unless it's summertime. They say that. Okay, I'm like, okay, I believe you can do it. 365. Sure enough, summer comes along. They're still eating cooked food. And they say, "Oh, you can only do raw in the tropics." I'm like, "Man, you can do raw anywhere, but okay." They come to the tropics. They're still eating cooked food
yeah,
because they don't have the belief. They don't have belief. Like, if they don't have the belief in a cold climate, then they won't have the belief in a warm climate either. So you either find a way or you find an excuse. Thank you very much, Tiny Raw, but it's very true.
yeah, yeah. How do you feel meeting other raw vegans? How has that helped you a lot? I think you were saying you feel like when you're around other people, you get there's something different than just us speaking online, for example.
Yeah, there's a couple stages in that connection. Stage one is like just like either consuming the message or getting the message out there. It's a one-way street. Like I'm either watching someone on YouTube they filmed it like last year or something, or I'm putting out the video. That's a one-way share. The other type is like a Skype right now, where we're sharing right now. Just you and I back and forth. But then the next step up from that is you live right now. It's like you, me, and talking, but also there's people like in the crowd. The audience is typing. That's really cool as well. But then the next step past that, man, is like being in the physical one-on-one. Being in the physical one-on-one, seeing someone, you actually like touch them. Then the next step from that is having multiples of that at a festival in a community, Woodstock. Where there's hundreds of people like this. Everywhere we look, it's like boom, 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 boom. Epic people, amazing conversations. Next level, thoughts and things.
Yeah,
So yeah, we give off physical energy. Like, if I put my hand like over your face when your eyes are closed, you're gonna feel my hand like going back and forth over your head. There's that magnetism there, and we don't get that through webcam. It's just pixels here. You're too far away right now for your physical resonance for me to pick up on that physical resonance. But when we're near each other, like when you're on stage and all these people are looking at you, like you feel that vroom, all that concentrated energy. So very powerful.
yeah. Are you looking forward to these events this year? You're going to play more of a leadership role, speaking and leading groups. Looking forward to it.
I'm absolutely stoked. It's a dream come true. It really is a dream come true. Now that's something I've been visualizing. Just again, I've noticed myself visualizing. Just being around and understanding with a lot of friends and people I treat like family, and being able to play more of a leading role, I guess, just based on my experience, and just because some of the other people have kind of dropped off, it's just time to pick up the slack. Really, it's just like I've played soccer my whole childhood, and I was often the captain of the soccer team. Not because I was like, oh, pick me as captain, but because like the team, I guess, needed me at the time. So I was like, okay, I'll play captain. And in cycling, it's like if you're in a big group cycling and someone at the front's kind of tired and they drop off, I take the lead. And I'll push the pace. I'll push the group. So that's what I feel like I'm doing right now. It's my turn at the front, just to help push the pace a bit.
Yeah,
Just
sure.
to push the pace. And then maybe in a couple of years, I'll drop back or something. Who knows? Like, we don't know. But at this point, it's my turn to push the pace.
Well, that's a good point, because I think that a few years ago, when we're talking about just raw vegan, Mike Arnstein was playing a bigger role in terms of being online, whereas now he's kind of more in the background, organising Woodstock. Who else? Like obviously Durian Rider was promoting raw vegan at the time, really, and obviously they're doing a slightly different thing now. But so you kind of have emerged as the fruitarian or the raw vegan athlete or whatever to watch and to be inspired by. I mean, do you, when people are saying that they've given up on raw vegan and they're preferring cooked food or whatever for whatever reason, do you think being honest with himself, or?
No, well, they're either being honest with themselves and dishonest with me, or vice versa, because I'll talk with them in the background and they'll say things like, well, obviously I feel better on raw, but there's just way bigger of a net of people out there who will go vegan rather than raw vegan, so I might as well help them.
Yeah.
They can justify it and say like, I'm just helping more people with veganism. But feeling wise, we always feel better on local, organic, sweet, raw, ripe, juicy fruit. Like always, it's just in our DNA. It's in our genes. We are designed for fruit, and if you stray from that, you'll feel a little bit. Yeah, you can do all sorts of things to, like I said, justify it and make it seem okay. But you're always going to feel better if you're on local, organic, sweet, ripe, raw, juicy fruit. But yeah, man, especially if you're eating like quite a bit of your calories. Like if these people who go back to cook, like it's not like 95% raw. It's not 90% raw. It's mostly like 70% raw. Like a large portion or more, like a large portion calorie-wise is coming from cooked food. Could be even 50-50. It honestly, if for like certain people, I'm not going to name names, but it's definitely like more like a 50-50 raw cooked diet, calorie-wise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was talking earlier on about a guy, probably 4 or 5 years ago, who had a pretty big raw channel, and he was hanging out in Thailand and stuff. But he was, he was saying that he was doing this kind of like mostly fruit diet, a little bit of cooked food now and then. Like he kind of went away from raw to eating cooked food again. But when I bumped into him in Thailand, it was like he wasn't eating any fruit at all. It was just like cooked food throughout the day, little packs of dried bananas every now and again. Like he just had given up. He just wasn't eating fruit at all. It was not what he was saying he was doing, So I think there's a lot of that.
Slippery slope. That's why 100% raw is like it's a safe safeguard, man.
Some people believe in like herbs and supplements and things like that, and other things in addition to the raw diet. What's your thoughts on that kind of thing?
Well, you said it initially. You said some people believe in herbs and supplements, and if you've got a belief about a certain herb or a certain supplement, it's going to have either a legit effect or a placebo effect. But placebo effects are legit effects.
Yeah.
So, like, you can kill someone with a placebo.
Yeah.
You can literally kill someone with a placebo. And you can bring someone back to life with the placebo. So if we're talking life or death here, then placebos definitely work. So if they're taking an herb or supplement, they really wholeheartedly believe in it, then it's going to work for sure. You can lower cholesterol, you can lower blood pressure, you can get rid of acne, all sorts of things with placebos. It's amazing. So the power of belief, man, not enough people are really talking about that, but it's so true. And that's why I think raw works so well for the people who believe in it. For the people who believe in it, raw works. And then when people start to lose that belief, they lose the inspiration, and then it's like they start to notice all sorts of things like, oh, my hair is thinning, or oh, my teeth are falling out, or oh, I'm getting weak, or my muscles aren't as defined, all these things, or I can't do it, I'm losing money, all sorts of beliefs, they blame it on raw food. Then of course it's like, oh my God, look at all the evidence, because the belief is there to back up that evidence. But if there's evidence but the belief's not there to back it up, then they're not going to blame the raw food. So, or the herbs, the supplements, whatever. So if you believe in a supplement, if you believe in the greens, if you believe in the green powders, if you believe in like iodine or B12 injections or Dr. Morris's herbs, whatever, then fantastic. If it's not doing you any harm, then it's definitely doing you some good, I reckon. Especially if you're noticing the results.
Brilliant. Well, Ted's going to be at the UK Fruit Fest, so a little pitch for that now. Ted's going to be speaking, leading some classes, doing a few things. And if Ted's got a discount voucher as well, if you go to the fruitfest.co.uk website, come fruit yourself, I believe is your...
Fruit yourself.
Yeah, and even if you get a 10% discount for attending, and even if it doesn't work for you or whatever, just message me, just email us and say that you want to sponsor Ted, and that's fine, and we'll work that all out. That's cool. Exactly, come fruit yourself. So if anyone's interested in coming and meeting Ted and everyone else that's coming, then it's a great opportunity to come today. And I don't know if I can add in like a prize. If anyone registers today, I can maybe give some kind of prize or something. I'll maybe work that out. But yeah,
I'll give them a free 30-minute Skype call.
Brilliant. So if anyone registers today, then Ted will give you a Skype call for free. Excellent. So an extra little thing, and I'm sure we can find some other prizes we can add in. But yeah, Ted, really good to speak to you today.
Kenny Roll will give a half-hour Skype as well. There we go.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, I'll see you next week. Hopefully, I'll come. I'm pretty much sure I'm coming to Denmark as well. And
oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so that's a beautiful event. Just to let everyone know about that as well. Fresh Food Festival in Denmark is happening next week. It starts on Thursday. It's outside Copenhagen. Very easy to get to. Fly into Copenhagen. You take a train out. You take a little bus. Easy to get to, and one of the nicest, best little festivals. Smaller than Woodstock, obviously, but just a great location. Everything's brilliant about it. So I really totally recommend that. And the week after, the UK Fruit Fest, and a couple of weeks later, the Woodstock Fruit Festival's on. So a pretty busy run for you. I guess you're at all those events.
Yeah, I'll be there, all of them.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ted. We'll speak to you maybe later on, and have a great day.
Cool. Cheers, man. Peace. Thanks for having me.
Okay, we're gonna see if we can get. So I'm inviting Dr. Doug Graham on now, and so I hope everyone can continue. It might take a few minutes for him to join, or for the video, for the audio to sync up and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, if you want to just hang with us for a little while. I can see you're still there, Tanny. I thought you were going away to the market, but it seems like you're just hanging out with us all day. But I think people really enjoyed your contribution there. Yeah. So if anyone's got any questions, feel free to chat. Feel free to add in something in the box, and we can all chat. Ah, Doug, there you are. Can't hear you at the moment, Doug. Have you got headphones in or something, or? Yeah, I can't hear you right now. Still can't hear you. Yeah. I'll just make sure it's not something that I can fix. Nothing. Still nothing. What I'll do is I'll drop it and I'll come back in, because it might just not have synced up properly in some way. So I'll invite you again. Sometimes these things happen. Yeah. So. Yeah, I still can't hear you, Doug. Can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. You can hear me perfect. I'm not sure what's happening then. I still can't hear you, Doug, and I'm not sure what it would be. Remind you. Is it? Let me see. Let me think. Yeah, so someone's saying you might have muted the microphone, but sometimes it could be that something else is controlling your audio. Yeah. Let me think. It's the mic. Still, yeah, you're still not, there's no sound coming through. I'm just trying to wonder. Um, maybe I could, someone is suggesting settings on the computer. Test the mic settings or unplug the camera or mic and replug it back in. Or you could, yeah, I mean, you could even try plugging in headphones or something. I'm not sure. Let me think of another way. Let me have a look around. Still not quite hearing you, Doug. Let's think. Maybe, can you leave a, can you type and let us know what you've tried out? I had a thing very similar to this the last time we did this, where uh, my microphone wasn't working, and I know that you use some things for your webinars, and it might be the case that those programs are controlling the mic. So I'm not sure if you use a webinar software or something that might be affecting your mic. Okay, well, it's a shame. I think we might need to try it another time, Doug. I think I made an error here with this software because it worked perfect last time we tried with the other thing. But I think we might have to leave it there for now, and I'll speak to you later on. So the picture quality is absolutely perfect. The picture's coming through perfect. 5 minutes, 4 minutes. Okay. Great. Okay, we're gonna keep on trying with Doug. I think he's working it out. Because the picture quality is perfect, so obviously everything's the internet and everything's fine. There might be something. Look, the last time I was using another software last time called Spreecast, and when I went in, no one could hear me at all. And it turned out that I'd downloaded something for streaming on YouTube or something that for some reason was controlling the microphone and then turned it right down. I don't know why it was doing that. So I had to go into this different thing, this streaming software. So I don't know if, I know that Doug does webinars and other things, so I don't know if that could maybe be having an effect. Anyway, how is everyone doing now? Alex the Stupid. How are you, Alex? If anyone's got any questions for me until Doug turns up again, then feel free to let me know. Victoria S, what fruit will you have at the UK Fruit Festival? Well, we are doing a food order, and what we've ordered so far is bananas, dates, mangoes, peaches, nectarines. What other fruits? Grapes, cherries, raspberries, strawberries, all of the berries. We've also ordered durian, avocados, and a bunch of other fruits, oranges, pineapples, all the major fruits, really. And the night, I know, probably could have got the chef on today. We'll see what happens when we bring Doug on this time. But we have. Yes, Victoria, what are you asking? every night there'll be a yeah. Well, Woodstock's had bananas. I mean, there was actually too many bananas at Woodstock last year. They made them all into a big sign at the end. Because I don't know if anyone saw that. But yeah, there will be bananas for sure at the UK Fruit Fest. And I was speaking, we have a good guy that deals with it. Oh, there you go. Can hear you now, Doug. I will put in my headphones.
Now it works?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, now you're on. So, how are you today, Doug?
I'm excited, man. Today is a very good day.
Yep.
Let me get these.
Apologies. I'm just going to send out a little message to people to let them know that you're on if they want to come and chat.
Oh, sure. Thanks. That's most kind. Here, I was thinking I'd just get to talk to you. That's exciting enough for me.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I don't get to. You're a star. I don't get to talk to you much. Everybody.
I'm sure you can talk to me anytime you want.
Well, that's very kind. That's very kind. But, you know, you're flitting around the world, going to events and doing stuff and presenting and studying and spreading.
Yeah, I would like to. Let's chat a little about that. And this is something I've actually not said to you yet because we had some changes in the schedule at Fruit Fest, and we were going to have a run on the last day. It was going to be a race, but as Tim is not coming, there's a space there, and I've suggested to Sophie, who's making the schedule, that we have that maybe you could be part of or run a workshop that's called presenting excellence and leadership in the raw vegan lifestyle. And I'm just asking you now publicly if that's something you'd like to be part of, or
Sure, of course.
because I know that you've done the presenting excellence in the past.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty serious training program. I
Sure.
mean, that's a long training program, but it's normally 24 hours, either in 3 or 4 days. But yeah, I'm happy to do something because and it would tie in well with the consulting thing that I'm going to be doing with people anyway. Because
Yes.
I'm still developing that. Hopefully, there'll be people interested in that aspect as well. There's a fair number of people. It's one thing consulting as a professional. It's another thing consulting just because we all influence the people we know.
Yeah.
They end up asking questions because, in general, people are looking to make their life better than it is.
Yeah. You've probably coached more people on a raw vegan diet than almost anyone else, and I was
Well, that's
at a
time.
very-
It's just a matter of time.
Well, I was speaking. I was speaking at the start of this, and I said that when you're looking for someone to learn from, there's a lot of people in groups online. There's a lot of anonymous people giving information and giving advice, but it's trying to find someone that not only is doing it for themselves, which there are a lot of people that have done a raw vegan diet for however long, but it's finding people that have taught others. It's finding people that have taught others to be able to do it long term, and there's whatever people think of you, because there's people that maybe don't like you, there's maybe people that have fallen out with you or whatever. But you're one of the very few people that you can honestly say, right, Doug, so that you've taught a lot of people that have went on to do that, the raw vegan lifestyle long term, and even taught other people that have, so there's a few generations below you of people that have learned. So what do you find are the things that come up in most often with trying to coach people or help people, or what are the big problems that people have, and maybe what are the things that people hold themselves back with?
Well, I didn't think that's where you were going to go with that introduction, but thank you. Yeah, it's something that I've always aspired to, was to teach, to reach out with this message to as many people as want it, to as many people as possible, to make the message seem appealing, and then to make the practice possible, if not easy. I think I agree with Ted. It's much easier to be healthy than it is to be sick. And if you're looking for justification for anything, you can find it. So if you want to justify that, you can be raw north of the Arctic Circle, I certainly have had clients who live north of the Arctic Circle succeeding on 80-10-10.
North of the Arctic Circle?
Yeah. And I had people in the tropics telling me how impossible this is. It's just not possible, So everybody comes up with their excuses, and it's interesting because, the runners tell me 80-10-10 is really for strength athletes, and the strength athletes tell me it's really for runners. And meanwhile, that's because they don't want to do it. And for the ones who do, whether they're strength athletes or runners, cardio athletes, they find a way to do it and find that it helps them. I think I've been fortunate to reach out to a lot of people because I've been lecturing on raw foods in the vegetarian and vegan world for probably close to 20 years before there even was a raw food world to lecture to. There was no raw food organizations. There weren't any events really that were raw food events much before the late 90s. And so for 20 years, it was just reach out to the vegans and tell them about raw foods, or reach out to the vegetarians and tell them about raw foods.
Yeah.
And oddly, the animal rights groups as well, because a lot of people there are vegan, but for animal rights reasons, not for their own personal health, and
right.
They didn't really see the connection between cooked food and animal rights, but there are some. I think even more, though, I mean, that's my role as a doctor. My role as a teacher has been more rewarding in some ways, because if you were going to name the 100 people who are out there teaching in raw foods, you'd probably find that I personally taught maybe 50 of them.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool. And I know they're going on to train trainers as well. And as you said, it's many generations down the line now. And I had teachers too. And I'm happy to tell you, T.C. Fry and Virginia Vetrano and some of the other people that meant the world to me as I was coming up through the ranks, that gave me excellent guidance. I think one of the things that holds people back from succeeding is that they're not willing to take out the garbage. And so your house gets filled up with garbage. If you never take out the garbage, your house gets filled up with garbage. By this, I mean that there's a lot of things we've learned that don't apply when we're eating raw foods. And we try to apply those things that we know because these were health practices or these were good techniques to use for weight management or nutrition or kitchen functioning, and those things don't work in the raw food world. We have to be willing to not just learn new stuff. We have to be willing to unlearn the old stuff, because if you try to make the new stuff jive with the old stuff, and then you just end up butting your head against things that don't apply. And so, for instance, there is a rather pandemic, meaning worldwide, fear of fruit in cooked circles that people carry with them into raw circles. And I get it almost every day from clients telling me that, they've got thrush, or they've got a candida problem, or they've got diabetes, or they've got hyperglycemia or hypoglycemia, or they've got energy concerns. They're cardio athletes, they're whatever, and they can't imagine eating fruit, let alone making meals of fruit, or getting the predominating percentage of their total calories from fruit. I mean, this is just, they're absolute, and they express to me, they're petrified to even try it, or they won't even give it a chance. They say, no, I can't get myself to do that. I mean, I never allow myself anything except lemons and apples, Well, I mean, okay, but so I think, and we get lots of stuff like that, like don't eat late at night, because eating late at night's, well, we come up in a world that's losing the battle of weight management. They're coming up with every trick they can possibly come up with. So don't eat until 10 in the morning, and don't eat after dark, and don't eat late, and all sorts of things that, I mean, I've stayed at your house. We've both eaten pretty late at night, and then said, hey, I'll see you. Let's go to bed. And if you're trying to control your weight, I think there's better ways to do it than don't eat late at night. I'm not recommending eat late at night. I don't think it's either good or bad necessarily. I don't recommend eating like 5 ounces of nuts and then going to sleep. You'll probably have nightmares. But or even to eat something that's digestively really challenging and then go to sleep, because you're either going to be putting your energy into sleeping, or you're going to be putting it into digesting. So you can compromise both by eating heavily. But to eat an apple, or have a couple tomatoes, or have a banana or two and go to bed, I mean, come on. So there's a lot of things in the cooked world of knowledge, that we try to bring them over because these were health practices or nutrition practices, or, as we said, go through that list. And sometimes we have to be willing to just take out the garbage, realizing that negative knowledge, it's not just that you have to learn something new, because if you learn something new and add it to your negative knowledge, you still come up with zero. Something positive and something negative, and they cancel each other out. So you really have to be willing to, that willingness to let go, and certainly willingness to let go of the fear of fruit, as if fruit was a bad guy in some way, when we know, we know that fruit's health food. I mean, you can ask anybody. In fact, I was talking to somebody the other day in the middle of a consult, and we were chatting back and forth, and I said, look, it's pretty simple. Fruits and vegetables are health food. And she said, yeah, fruits and vegetables are health food. I mean, I've heard that since I was a kid. Fruits and vegetables are health food. She said, but what about like meat and potatoes? And I go, well, has anybody ever in your entire life told you that meat was health food? I mean, where did you get, I understand we eat it, and I understand people think, like potatoes are good for you or whatever, but has anybody ever actually said potatoes are health food? No, we don't think of it. Fruits and vegetables are health food.
Yeah.
And if you get to the point, and again, I was listening on TED, I don't really want to be 90% healthy if I can be 100% healthy. Some people, I guess they don't care, but for me, being 100% healthy is really important. I keep a full schedule. Rosie and Francesca and I took 3 days and went on a holiday a couple of weeks ago. It was the first 3 days off either Rosie or I had in 8 years. You know? And normally we're productive 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. We have full days. I don't have time to be sick. I don't relish being sick. I don't enjoy, coughing, sneezing, achy, or all the other things that go with being sick. And
it's 16 hours.
So for me, that a lot of people think it takes willpower to succeed on raw food. I don't think it takes any willpower whatsoever. It takes knowing what your goals are. It takes a certain amount of commitment to reaching your own goals, commitment to yourself. But I don't find, that I can force myself to do something I don't want to do. At some level, I've got to want to do it. So, I've covered the things before. If you're not eating enough fruit, you're going to fail on raw foods. Every raw food leader who came out against raw foods, every raw food leader who came out against eating lots of fruit has shown us that they couldn't sustain raw.
Yeah.
And they've either gone back to cooked foods or they've gone away from vegan entirely. They've lost their health, compromised their health in some way or another. They end up telling me that if you toast your bread, then it makes the carbohydrates almost as accessible as they are in fruit. And so that's good, but eating fruit is bad, and all sorts of ways. So, and again, I learn something from everybody. I really do. I think everybody's my teacher in some way or another. And I'm really, I'm thinking back right now to Paul Nissan, who I was just in touch with last week. And Paul used to say, I'll stop eating raw food in the wintertime if you'll stop eating cooked food in the summertime. And people won't. I mean, they don't stop eating cooked food just because it got warm. And they don't stop eating cold food just because it got cold. I don't know what they do in England, but in the States we drink our beer cold. And it doesn't matter whether it's summer or winter. We drink our beer cold, ice cold. And we eat ice cream year-round. So it doesn't matter whether it's winter or summer. Getting it into your head that you want to succeed with raw food. I've created the template of how to succeed with raw food by taking the world of nutrition and the world of health science and the world of food prep and putting them all together and teaching 80-10-10, calling it 80-10-10 diet. And these are the principles and practices. I found after about 8 years that some people tried to do 80-10-10 and struggled a bit, so I then put together what I call my Kickstart program, which looked at the 6 things that people had the most trouble with.
Yep.
And went into great depth on each of those. But I think when people have trouble with raw foods, it's because they're not ready to succeed on raw foods. They're not really, people say, "Oh, but I don't want to leave that behind." You mean I could never have whatever it is, and I don't know that I'm cheating when I do this, but I use the analogy of being in a relationship. And if you've been going out with a girl, Ronnie, for the last 6 years, and there were times it was serious and maybe times it wasn't, but at some point you both realize, this just isn't working. But you really like her in 100,000 different ways, And even when you start looking around at other women, you still get called back to that old one because you weren't ready to let go. And until you're ready to let go, you can't move on. And until you're ready to let go of cooked food, you're not going to move on to raw. And so people will try to make a very slow transition, and it's like weaning yourself off of smoking cigarettes. Every time you smoke another cigarette, you're just reinforcing the smoking. You're not actually weaning. So I think the easy way to do it is to just eat fruits and vegetables. And yes, you're going to go through a couple of days that are challenging, because not physically challenging, not physiologically challenging, nothing like that. Just up in your head, you still have some attachments, and you still have some habits, and you still have just modes of operation that lead you to think like, well, when a certain thing happens, I'm supposed to eat this, or when my team wins, I'm supposed to eat pizza. I don't know what it is, but
do you have?
It takes a few days. It's like giving up your favorite TV show that you've been watching every Wednesday night for the last 6 years. When that show stops playing, you miss it. I mean, I missed Miami Vice when it stopped playing. I enjoyed Miami Vice. It stopped playing. I missed it. And then, I even watched the reruns. I wasn't ready to let go. And then once I was ready to say goodbye, then that wasn't of interest to me anymore.
Yeah. Why do people get addicted to food anyway, and anything? What is it that happens with that?
Well, what I see happening is that, in many ways, I think Razi has expressed this more clearly even than I can, but eating foods creates shifts in behavior, shifts in perception. And we've seen it with cooked foods, that shifts in perception occur that numb you.
Yeah.
Mostly we call these things comfort. We don't call them numb. We call them comfort. In fact, over in Thailand, when they describe the qualities of certain foods, particularly certain types of durian, numb is one of the qualities of the food itself. But they're not talking about emotionally numb. They're talking about in your mouth you feel a bit numb. And I've had that happen with other foods. But it's something they're looking for in really great durian, is it creates a certain numb, temporary. But you get an emotionally numb for a lot of reasons, and I've been, the last couple of years, I've been really hot on the trail of pursuing some of those reasons, some of the chemistry that goes on behind the scenes when we cook food. And some of it I understand, and some of it is, I think, yet to be understood. But we know about the Maillard reactions, and we know about the excitotoxins. There are things that dull our perception, and for people who want comfort, dulling our perception works really well. For people who want stimulation, and pretty much all humans are suckers for stimulation, a lot of foods, especially cooked foods, because of the various glutamates that are heightened in cooked food, we get a level of stimulation that's just hard to match in raw food. You can't be matched in raw food. In fact, we don't even want to, because I want to know when I'm having a good time. I don't want people to say, "Oh yeah, don't you remember last night you had the lampshade on your head and you were walking around with your pants half down?" And I go, "No, I don't remember that." I want to remember stuff. I like having my perception improving all the time, my awareness improving. I don't like to be an unaware guy, and I see that behavior. So people get hooked on cooked because it dumbs them down. It makes them less aware. It's comfort food, and then it also stimulates the heck out of it. So can you imagine? I don't even know. Is that a black beauty in the drug world? A stimulant and a depressant at the same time? A stimulant and barbiturate at the same time, right?
Yeah.
You would know, Ronnie.
A black beauty, did you say?
I think that's called a black beauty.
Right.
It's like an upper and a downer at the same time. So cooked food is an upper and a downer at the same time. So it's got cytotoxic stimulants and at the same time numbs you to the point of digestive effort where a lot of times numbs you to the point of falling asleep. So that's a very alluring combination for people who don't want to remember. Okay, so we drink because we don't want to remember. We do drugs because we don't want to remember. And then we eat comfort food because we don't want to. We're not trying to remember the bad times. We're not trying to, my boyfriend left me, my team lost, whatever it was. I don't know. We don't, So we do this stuff to forget. And cooked food fits that bill really well. You forget how tough life is, or how hard things are, or what a nut job your boss is, or but I don't know. But for people who haven't created the life or the desire for the life, all right, because to me this is an endless process. Well, I don't know if it's endless, but it's going to be a lifetime process of creating the life that I want to have, and making small modifications and adjustments all the time in order to make things more the way that I want them to be.
Yeah.
I'm happy, but that doesn't mean I'm satisfied. I want it to be better. I'm happy, but I want better.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that you posted about recently was your strength competition. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And could I just leave you to tell the story of that for 1 minute? I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, well, I don't know that there's a story, but I've been, for those of you interested, up and down at the same time. You're right. Thanks, Ted, for pointing that out. No, I don't really think there's much of a story. I met these guys. Well, it was a longer story. There's a whole background to it, but about 7 or 8 years ago, Rosie came home from attending a fete. It's like a fair. And she came home from attending a local fete, and she said, "Oh, they're going to have a strongman contest. You should be in it, Doug." And I explained to her that no, I shouldn't be in it. I'm honored that Rosie thinks I'm strong for my size or whatever, but strongman competitions are not like weightlifting competitions. You don't do it according to your weight. You do it according to absolute weights and absolute people, and you just have to tough it out. If the weight's 100 kilos, everybody has to do whatever it is you do with the 100-kilo weight, regardless of your size, which isn't like it is for weightlifters. They compete according to their size, so 80-pound guys compete against 80-pound guys, and 200-pound against 200-pound guys. So I said, thank you for the honor of saying that to me, but that's not for me. Well, the next year, Rosie went to the fete again and saw the strongman competition, and we hadn't said anything about it in a year, but she came home from the fete and she just looked at me and she said, "You were right." And I had to think for a minute, what had happened, and then I realized she had been to that Fakem fete, and I go, "Oh, you mean the strongmen were huge?" She goes, "They were gargantuan. These were giant men. I didn't even know such big men existed these guys were huge. And I wouldn't even want you to go out there and try and do those things. They were pulling trucks and flipping tires that were bigger than you." And she said, "It would not be safe for you to go out there." So that piqued my interest no end. It took another year till I went to go be an observer at the competition the next year. And when I went to the competition, because I've been watching strongman competitions since the 70s, and so I'm just interested in what these guys can do. All levels of human performance to me are fascinating. And so I went and watched the competition, and it was a really good competition. I enjoyed it very much. But my background in physical education left me thinking that some of the instructions were unclear for the competitors. Some of the goals of what was going on was unclear to the guests, the watchers, spectators. And so after the thing was over, I went and talked to the guy who was the organizer and said, would you be interested in just getting an outsider's view of some things I think maybe might make it safer for the competitors or whatever, better for the spectators? And he goes, oh, sure. And so we exchanged emails. I sent him an email. He said, come on over to my house. We'll talk about it. I went over to his house and talked to him about it for about an hour. He was very gracious. And at the end of it, he said, how would you like to be the head referee next year at the competition? Which wasn't what I had in mind, but sure, I told him, sure, I'd be happy to do that, but we need to talk some more. So we did. And when it got to be about a month before the competition, he said, you need to, we're going to be practicing. Most of the guys who are going to be in the competition are going to be practicing over at such and such a field, and you need to come and see. And I go, why? And he goes, well, each of us cheats in our own way, and you need to know how these guys cheat so that they can't get away with cheating on the day. And so I did. I went and found out who cheats in different ways and what they're likely to try to get away with. And so that as a head referee, I wasn't going to have any of that. I wanted to be as fair as possible. And I went and watched them 2 or 3 times in a row. And they even let me play with some of their equipment, most of which I couldn't move because my body simply, there was stuff I couldn't move. And tires that you have to flip a tire, but I couldn't even get it 1 inch off the ground. And you have to lift up this yoke and walk with it for speed, and I couldn't get it off the ground. After about the 3rd or 4th time that I showed up, and they did let me play some of the things that I could do, I did. They invited me to go to their gym, where they also train once a week, doing some other stuff that they called power lift. I'd never heard of it. So I went with them, and they showed me how to squat and bench and deadlift. And I realized that I was not as strong as I would like to think I was. I certainly wasn't strong for my weight compared to their strength and their weight.
Yeah.
And they said, this is something you have to do for a while. It takes time to get good at this. But I kind of enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the social time. They were very nice guys. They were supportive, and they kept it completely safe. I felt like I was safe. And so I went back a few times, and then it just became a regular thing, and I continued doing it. So when I started, I could almost embarrassed, but I guess not. You can do what you can do when you start, and I could squat 60, and I could bench 60, and I could deadlift 90, and over it's now been 5 years, so I've just been going after it now for 5 years, and my squat's up to about 135.
Wow.
Bench isn't much better than it was, but it's about 80 now, and I just deadlifted 180 the other day, which is double what I started with.
Wow.
So over time, I've improved. And what's cool is the effort doesn't seem as hard now as it did back then. The safety seems even safer now than it was back then. And I'm looking forward to continuing to improve, which gets me back to 80-10-10. There are very few guys my age. It's not that there's very few guys my age lifting. There are plenty of guys my age lifting. But they're trying to hold on to what they used to be able to do, or not go downhill any faster than they have to. Very few still improving and improving as the years go on. In fact, they have what are called standard expectations, and starting at age 40, the expectations go down for guys, and by the time you're 50, they go down again, and 60, they go down again. So for me now, they don't have very high expectations for me. I guess that's a good part, but I can well exceed those expectations. And although I am not going to the British Championships,
Right.
and I am not even going to the All England Championships, it's more a matter of expediency on my part. I'm not afraid to go. I know how I would do. I would probably take third in both of those competitions, which is really cool to make the podium, but I would probably make third because there's only 3 of us in England. But the other 2 guys are well ahead of me, and but 2 years ago they were almost 200 kilos ahead of me. Now they're only 100 kilos ahead of me, and I'm closing in on them. And hopefully I'll keep improving, and maybe they'll even. I wouldn't wish them anything other than the best, but I don't see them improving over the last 2 years.
Right.
We'll see what happens.
Great. I was wanting to go into a slightly different topic, which is getting back to events. And obviously, you're talking about you've been in a lot of athletic events, obviously, over your time. I've never really heard you talking about. You were a trampolinist
I was.
at one point. I've never really heard you speak much about that, and I'd like to know how did you get into that, and what level did you reach doing that? And don't say it had its ups and downs, because I know that's the joke that you usually use.
When I was 6 years old, I was attending a day camp during the summer. It was a sports-oriented day camp, and I got a chance to jump on a trampoline. I remember it vividly. I remember that day vividly, getting to go on the trampoline, and it was the coolest thing that ever happened. I just never had even imagined a surface like that. And the guy that was teaching me at the time was a national champion trampolinist, and he taught me reasonably good habits for a 6-year-old, and I continued bouncing every summer, all the way till I was 18. And all the way through my teens, I did some competitions. I wasn't the most gifted, and I only bounced in the summers, so I couldn't compete with the guys who were doing it all year round. After college, I got a job teaching trampoline. I got a job teaching gymnastics, technically, but I talked to the owner of the private gymnasium and said, look, what I want to do is teach trampoline. He said, fine, find students, you can teach them. So I started advertising for trampoline classes, and my first group was a lady in her 40s and a 6-year-old boy and a couple of other people, and we had a class, and it was pretty insane with this hyperactive 6-year-old boy and a lady who had a lot of fears and wasn't all that fit, and managing them. But it was the first class, and then other people saw it happening, and the next thing you knew, I was teaching 35 classes a week of teaching trampoline, and then coaching a team the rest of the hours of the work week, and it was just a ton of fun. And I did a little more competing then, but mostly at that point I just trained them. But I did go to some international competitions. And again, on a world level, I wasn't one of the best in the world by any stretch. I was training for national championships at one point in the United States, 1979, when I hurt my knee. It changed the course of my career dramatically, but I hurt my knee rather badly and couldn't compete in that national championships, although I could do all the moves that were required. They have compulsory routine that's fairly difficult includes a few different double flips. I think it had three different double flips in it, and the rest were all singles out of the 10 moves, but with multiple twists. And then, so what happened was I couldn't compete because of the knee injury, and I was invited instead to judge the competition rather than compete in it. And that was a pretty eye-opening experience, being on the other end of the competition, because it let me see what everybody else could do from an interesting viewpoint, of actually analyzing it and assessing it. And I realized at that point that, I wouldn't have made the top 10 in the United States. I would have made it in the next 10 in the whole United States, but that's as good as I ever got. I got to bounce with some guys who were really good. I got to bounce with at least 3 or 4, don't think about it, maybe 5 guys that I've had the chance to bounce with who were number 1 or 2 in the United States and among the best. But even then, at that competition, the guy who was number 1 was so far ahead of number 2 and 3 that it wasn't a competition. We already knew he was going to win. And then 2 and 3 were so far ahead of number 4 and 5 that, again, it wasn't a competition. The competition was who was going to be second and who was going to be third. And the reason it was a competition is because your number 1 guy and your number 2 guy go to the World Championships. So those 2 guys were competing for second place, and that was that. The rest was all pretty much predetermined. But when our number 1 guy went to the World Championships, he was kind of like in a position like I would have been at the Nationals, because he didn't make it into the top 10 in the world. They blew him away at the Worlds. At the world level, there are other countries that take trampoline very seriously, and such is life. So, I was 6 years old first time I bounced, and it was, for many years, trampoline was my sport. That's what I did. That was my love. It was my only workout tool. I could do strength training, I could do cardio, I could do muscular endurance, I could do every kind of fitness training on the trampoline. And at the end of the day, when I was ready to do some stretching, I would be just as happy to do it on the trampoline as on the ground. So I did all my fitness training on the trampoline for probably the better part of 20 years.
And there's a book that I read a couple of years ago called I think it's called The Peaceful Warrior, or The Way of the
Dan
Peaceful
Millman's
Warrior.
book. Dan and I taught together a few times. I count him amongst the people I've had the pleasure of bouncing with.
Yeah, I was wondering that because I know that he was a trampolinist, so I thought there was some connection between you and him in some way.
Yeah, I've talked to Dan quite a few times. Our paths don't cross particularly often, but he knows who I am, and I certainly know who he is. He struck it big. He had a great message. The book was good. The movie was fantastic. It's based on very real stories in his life. He had some spiritual awakenings. My spiritual awakenings came about health and raw foods. But his were powerful too, and I'm glad that he pursued that in his life.
Yeah, there's a story that you've told a couple of times that you kind of heard like a voice when you were 16, or a presence, or whatever it was that made you want to.
I was at the beach. I was looking out over the water. It was April. It was cold. I was the only person on the beach. And I don't know if you know the story of Abraham and the burning bush, and God spoke to Abraham. And it wasn't that. I didn't really feel like God was talking to me. But I don't know. But I heard the word health. I heard it loud and clear. It didn't matter which way I turned. I tried to move away from it. It seemed kind of weird. But by the time I left that beach, I was like, your life is going to be dedicated to health. And it's odd because, I was doing an interview a few days ago and somebody was asking me about my specialty area as a doctor. And I said, well, there's only 3 or 4 doctors in the world whose specialty is health. I'm a specialist where there's very little competition in my field. Almost every other doctor deals with sickness or prevention, surgery, or doing testing or whatever it is. But there's almost no doctors in the world who specialize in health, and health is a big field to specialize in. Most people take an aspect of health, whether that's fitness or food or whatever it is, and they specialize in that. Well, by the time you specialize in one aspect of health, I believe you've lost sight of health. It's very easy to start thinking like the yogis teach us, like if you do yoga, you don't have to do any other fitness. But the runners say if you run, you don't have to do any other fitness, and the bodybuilders say if you bodybuild, you don't have to do any other. And I don't believe that. By the time you specialize and you lose sight of the big picture, I think the big picture is really important. So for me, the big picture that day on the beach, the big picture was obviously health. And I'm glad that I've stuck to that, although it's been very challenging. I mean, in terms of business, every business professional I've ever talked to who's tried to help me with my business over the years has said, the problem is that you haven't narrowed down what you do. You need to narrow it down. The reason no big numbers of people invest in what you do is because you're trying to be everything for everybody. And I go, no, I'm not. I've really narrowed it down. I've narrowed it down to health. But health is a very big field.
Yeah, absolutely. We're obviously doing events coming up next week in Denmark, the UK Fruit Fest after that. You've probably been to more.
Cedar Woolley. I'll be in Cedar Woolley for 8 weeks.
Absolutely, we'll speak about that in a moment as well. And you've probably been to more raw events and vegan events than most people. Can you think about some standout moments for you, some experiences, people that have spoke to you, things that have happened that stand out for you at some of these events?
Well, I remember back in 1999 at the San Francisco Raw Food Festival, people started asking, one of the questions asked of the presenters as we were all introducing ourselves was, what's our vision of the future? And one of the speakers said, well, I'm looking forward to raw food becoming so popular that it's the number one topic of conversation on the tip of everyone's tongue. And that is a very good thought. It wasn't what had occurred to me, though, when I was asked the question. What had occurred to me was, I want raw foods to become so popular that it becomes accepted and nobody's talking about it or questioning it in any way, and it just becomes as normal as breathing fresh air is, or sleeping in a comfortable surroundings, or being fit is healthier than being unfit.
Yeah.
Eating fruits and vegetables, to me, it's not as questioned as it used to be, but it's still heavily questioned. The time has not yet come. But I tell you, you got to bless Gideon and Jackie Graff, who, almost 15 years ago opened up their first raw food restaurant. It wasn't the first raw food restaurant, but pretty much all raw food restaurants are little cafes.
Yeah.
Little cafes, right? It's like a little hole in the wall or a corner somewhere, or it might even be a real live restaurant, 1,000 square feet or something. And Gideon and Jackie had the vision to open up a 5,000 square foot place, and not even in a center city location, but in an outskirts location, and kept that running for quite a few years before they just had other things they wanted to go on the road and teach. But you got to thank them for that vision, because somebody has to go first. And now one of my students actually is in the process of opening up a place up in Michigan, another raw food place, and I think 85,000 square feet.
Wow.
85,000 square feet. And that's a big jump. Right? I mean, it's not as big as the convention center I last saw you at, but 85,000 square feet is a big facility.
Yeah.
Right? A big facility. And it'll have, obviously tons of raw food teaching centers and restaurant and cafe and all the rest.
Wow.
Plus places to do as much fitness as you could ever imagine wanting to do, because it'll be a full fitness center as well. But it'll all be under one roof, presented as a raw food, literally an 80-10-10 food and fitness kind of facility. The first of its kind, but only because he has to start with one. He's not going to start by opening up 100 of them. But the goal, certainly, for him is to open up 100 of them.
Wow.
So we're getting close. I would love to live to the point to see that vision that I had back in '99, come true to a point where people aren't even talking about it anymore. It just becomes an accepted part of life.
You live quite near London, and when you're over in the States, obviously you live near various big cities, and there's a number of raw food restaurants around. Do you ever frequent any of these, or do they serve what you like?
I've been to quite a few raw food restaurants because for years when I was on lecture tour, raw food restaurants were a great place to go and give a presentation. You could go from city to city, from raw food restaurant to raw food restaurant. There were a couple of years, maybe 10, 12 years ago, where I went to every raw food restaurant in the States and a few up in Canada as well. There were a lot of them. You could take the whole summer and just go from raw food restaurant to raw food restaurant and tour around. And sometimes, by the time I get to Los Angeles, I could stay for 4 or 5 nights, do a different restaurant each night in Los Angeles. Same thing in New York. You could be 4 or 5 nights because there'd be many raw food restaurants open. And even a few raw-friendly vegan places. So, yes, it's when you're a kid in a candy shop, and could you imagine being a kid in a candy shop? That never happens almost ever, but if you're a kid in a candy shop and they just locked you in overnight and you were just allowed to, you'd probably eat a lot of candy. But if that happened to you a few times, eventually you'd go, you know what? I'm not eating this stuff because it makes me feel terrible. And at raw food festivals and at raw food events and certainly at the raw food restaurants, I tried the stuff, especially back before I really had clarified my position on 80-10-10 and fruits and vegetables. I would try foods and then realize, tastes great, leaves me feeling terrible. It's not worth feeling terrible. And I can still remember at least 2, maybe 3 different raw food chefs who have made for me that I think were some of the best linguine I've ever eaten, cooked or raw. But it left me feeling so bad that I'll still tell people, Matt Samuelson lasagna is the best lasagna there is. I don't care whether it's cooked or raw. Matt Samuelson makes incredible lasagna. But I can't eat it anymore. But I can make 80-10-10 lasagna that's just as satisfying, and it doesn't hurt me. So, I want to eat foods that I love. Food will love me back. That's important to me.
You certainly, that's something that I've found that I think is important with the raw vegan and 80-10 lifestyle, is having some fun with it, being creative with it, And you certainly do that with your food. You have a lot of interesting creations.
I enjoy my food. I enjoy playing with food. I enjoy being a bit artistic, will, or creative with food. I don't experiment all the time, but I rarely make the same thing twice, just because I want to vary it a little. Um, we have favorites here at home, and I stick a lot with our favorites. But I enjoy experimenting, and especially if Francesca tries something that she really likes. I enjoy converting that over into an 80-10-10 version that I'm happy in and day out. So whether a cookie or a, whatever it is, and then so I'll look into whatever, there's a raw section, and go to health food stores and see raw foods, or look even what other chefs are making, and then make an age-friendly version of that, which is always easy to do.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Doug. Okay, well, we'll probably wrap it up pretty soon. It's been great to get some of your time.
On today, Ronnie. Are you on all day?
Yeah, I'm going to do another one in a few hours as well. So I've got another little interview to do. Just
good for you.
Trying to keep promoting the festival, which is obviously what we'll speak about as well. The UK Fruit Fest coming up in about just under 3 weeks' time now, from the 27th to the 31st of July.
The longest
Doug will be speaking there every day.
It's going to be the longest festival of the year than any of the festivals. Got the most growth of any of the festivals. Bigger this year than last.
Yeah. Certainly a bigger venue. More people.
Spectacular place you could ever imagine.
Yeah. What's that, sorry?
You've been to the venue where this is going to happen?
I've stayed over at it, yeah.
Right, party waiting to happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just looks like it.
Yeah, it's going to be good. You've broken up a little bit.
What can be better than a water park? I thought it was you.
Yeah, I think we might both be breaking up a little bit. I'm not sure.
Well, I'm really excited, looking forward to the UK Fruit Festival. I know it's always been a great time. Going to be better this year. I've got a bunch of friends in this year who I'm so looking forward to seeing.
Yep.
I saw Roger when I was up in Leeds. He might have told you, and so many friends at the festival. But even more meeting people who I've never met before, who are interested in succeeding with raw foods. It's
a lot of new people, for sure.
Tremendous learning environment. Such a safe, secure place. I don't know. You can feel the love at the UK Fruit Fest.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking forward to seeing you there. Doug's going to be teaching every day. If anyone's going to sign up today,
new people, for sure.
Well, again, I thank you for me to be online. Yeah. I'll look for you later in the day.
Sure.
And at least say hi.
See you later. Okay, great. Thanks everyone for watching and for being a part of this. If anyone wants to get a 10% discount and sponsor Doug for the festival, it's Food and Sport is the voucher code if you're signing up for the Fruit Festival today. And yeah, we look forward to seeing some of you there. Hope for some of you that are watching that are already signed up, then that gave you some more information. I'd certainly got a lot of inspiration today from being online with Ted and with Doug and with Tanny Raw earlier on. Jackfruit tea. And yeah, I hope to see a lot of you at the festival. And I'm going to have another interview tonight with one of our other speakers, who's Elise Broutigam. Elise from the YouTube channel Raw Alignment, and she's coming to the Fruit Festival as well. So she will be on later on about 8 PM British BST. That's going to be in about 3 hours time. So I'll put out another notification about that, and I hope to see some of you there. As for now, please sign up for the festival today if you're not making it yet. There's weekend options, so you don't have to go for the full 5 days, although we'd obviously recommend you do. And hope to see you there. If you've got any more questions for me or anything else, feel free to ask me. Feel free to send me a message or an email, or go to YouTube. info@fruitfest.co.uk is the email address that I use, so you can message me at info@fruitfest.co.uk. Okay guys, thanks a lot, and see you later, and thanks for joining us today.